Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. For those of you I don't know, I'm Hanh Brown, host of the podcast Boomer Living and a longtime member of the senior living industry. It goes without saying that 2020 has been a very difficult year. The pandemic has made our already busy lives even more chaotic. Given the negativity, stress, and the anxiety this year has created for us, I thought it would be nice to step outside of 2020 for a moment and focus on the good that is going on in our industry. While the older adults and the heroic frontline workers have struggled this year, the senior living industry has incredible new advancements. So today, I am joined with industry friends and experts to shed some light on some of these positives. So I hope today's event will leave you with something positive to take with you into 2021. Personally, I find many reasons to be thankful, even though this year has been incredibly hard. The silence forces me to reflect on my life purpose, relationship with those important to me, and my own health. So witnessing how those close to me have handled loss inspires me to live beyond my fear. So without further ado, let's kick off with our first guest.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lakleyn Hogan. I am Home Instead's gerontologist and caregiver advocate, and I want to thank Hanh so much for bringing us all together today to talk about the positives of 2020. It has been a challenging year in so many ways, but I have seen a lot of positives personally and professionally. So excited to share with you all today. So I would say one of the positives of this pandemic of 2020 is that it really has shown a spotlight on the needs of older adults across the care continuum. And for me, I work within the home care industry, and we were seen as an essential service during this time. It really elevated the services that we provide and the employees that provide that care. So I see that as one of the silver linings to come out of all of this. But secondly, I've also seen just generosity of our community as a whole and the empathy that we're all now experiencing for those older adults that have been experiencing isolation and loneliness. And people are taking action, they're doing things about it, and it's really been inspired because of this pandemic. So I think when we look at the greater picture, at our company, we've started a pen pal program to connect lonely seniors with people in the community who want to make a difference. And this year we also had a very successful Be a Santa to a Senior program where people want to donate to seniors that might be isolated and lonely this year. So we really are seeing the generosity and the empathy coming out of this year. And I just really hope and pray that it continues to be that way and that we continue to find ways to provide care and support and generosity to the older generations as we go forward from this year. Wishing you all happy holidays and cheers to 2021. Take good care, everyone. Bye.
Hello, everyone. This is Greg Gorgone with the Pineapple Academy. It's great to be with you today. Happy holidays to everybody. Thank you so much for the invite to be here and speak to you today. Yes, 2020 has been a more than interesting year. Our buckets have been filled and flowing over and trying to stay on top of everything. And it was a particularly interesting year for myself personally. We launched a new company last year, and we actually launched our product, which is the Pineapple Academy, in January. And so, within a month of our launch, the COVID news starts hitting and things started changing. And of course, for us as a startup, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but a very interesting thing started happening. We started recognizing the fact that because we are a software for service type company, we had something really great to offer people, and people started recognizing that, and it was just amazing what happened to us. And I'm so grateful to all of our vendor partners that we work with, all the clients that have come on board with us, and giving us the opportunity to really help people in a time of real, difficulty, and in some cases tragedy. And so it makes me feel good that the Pineapple Academy and me and my team, we've done what we can do to help make things easier for people. We've developed checklists to help people with pandemic readiness, dining room processes, kitchen processes, things to help people manage what's going on in today's environment and beyond. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of the things that we talk about on the Pineapple Academy were things that we should be doing, every day anyway. It's just that the pandemic has put a huge spotlight on all these things. And so I'm very grateful for the relationships we've forged. Some of the people that we've been able to meet and begin to work with had just been tremendous. I feel there's a lot more willingness amongst vendors and operators to meet in the middle to help, solve these problems. So thank you so much to everybody that's listening today. Thanks for what you're doing. The taking care of our seniors and our boomers is so, important. And, it's a sign of a culture. The quality of the culture really shows in the way we take care of our seniors. And so I'm a huge advocate of all the things that all of us are doing. Anything we can do to help forward those messages, please, let me know, and I'd love to help you. But again, we got to take care of our seniors, and it's really nice to see what's happened this year in people's efforts to take care of our seniors, but then one another also, and taking care of our staff. Kudos to all the line staff out there, housekeeping, all the nurses, food service. Everybody's worked so hard, and we've even lost some of those people this year due to COVID. So my heart goes out to everybody. But thank you for everything you're doing, everybody on the front lines. It's much appreciated, and I'm really looking forward to a much brighter, happier 2021, and looking forward to being back next year to reflect on that. So take care, everybody.
Hi, my name is Ngan MacDonald. I have a couple different roles. I am the Chief of Data Operations for Northwestern's Feinberg's Institute for Augmented Intelligence in Medicine. And then I also am VP of Business Architecture for a company called Health LX. And this year has been an incredible year. I think that on the one hand, COVID has been a difficult time, but also in healthcare this year, one of the things that we saw was the passage of a new rule based on the 21st Century Cures Act that basically allows patients access to their data. And this is a journey that we've been on for the last 14 years. And to see that actually come to fruition, and to see all of the players within the healthcare market come together to make that happen, has been really inspiring. And this really lays the groundwork for us to take a look at how things like AI and machine learning can really use data in order to drive better healthcare and engagement for the industry. And especially as you think about the whole, the way that we have to be able to take data and use it to help, our seniors as well as everybody else that's in the healthcare spectrum. I also, it's been an interesting year because our institute launched right in March, just before all this kicked in. And so it's, it was a strange time to launch, but there's been a lot of enthusiasm because, this is something that's absolutely necessary. And so watching, some of the work that's been going on the vaccine, realizing that, normally it takes us 16 years from the time that we do research to the time that we actually bring something to market. And, for these vaccines, we've seen that happen in 11 months. And so I'm really excited that, we're actually seeing data being used, and, to be able to take care of our elders So I want to say to everybody, the frontline workers and everybody that's struggling, happy. I hope that this year you can take some comfort from the fact that, we have all come together and really looked at this problem and helped to solve it in record time. And looking forward to 2021, when more data will get liberated and we'll be able to use it to help with the health of others.
You're live, Michael. Michael, we cannot hear you. What should I do? Let's see.
Hey, can you hear me? All right. Can you guys hear me? And can you see my wonderful hat?
Yes, you're good.
Fantastic. You don't sound like Hanh Brown, by the way.
Yeah,
a little bit more of a deep voice today.
I'm her IT for today.
You're IT. Awesome. Am I live? Ready for my 3 minutes?
You're ready to go. Awesome.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Yes. So while we have Mr. Michael Klatt doing some troubleshooting, you guys couldn't hear him. I have my 3 minutes of fame, and I'm going to explain this just a little bit. 2020, gosh, that was the year of two things for me. Number one, it was the year of restoring my mental health, working on avoiding anxiety through therapy, and eliminating depression, coming out of stay-at-home mom life back into the workforce. So restoring my mental health, number one, and I'm on the road to achieving that, even though it's like going to be a long battle. Number two, breaking free from perfectionism. This is a little bit of Brene Brown, perfectionism. So I'm going to give you guys, and gosh, the 2 minutes I have left to speak, I'm going to give you the why behind this. And I know that there are moms and dads, working parents, and maybe you don't have kids, but you've been in this situation before, and we have like two decisions. Number one, we can let it define us. And number two, we can roll with the punches and be imperfect and just go. So last night I got really, really nauseous, migraine. I've got two kiddos and one of them could not sleep. So I did not get much sleep, still have a migraine lingering this morning. Got kids off to daycare, still with the migraine. And 15 minutes before I was supposed to speak, our power went out. So again, when I talk about my 2020 restoring mental health, I could either have an anxiety attack and freak out, and if it's not perfect, or I could say, you know what, roll with the punches. I'm going to show up, my hair wet, in the dark. This is all I could find in my closet, and show up. And number two, breaking free from perfectionism. So as we look at, 2021, it's an imperfect world. Thank goodness for that. We don't have to put on our absolute best every single second of the day. We can be real. We can be vulnerable. We can be imperfect. And the best thing about that is our teams, our family, they can actually relate to us. Like, they can relate to us being human. So that's all I have for today. Follow me on LinkedIn if you want to see some funny, sarcastic, but also real posts on mental health and how you can help your coworkers. And cheers to being imperfect. Thanks, Hanh Brown. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And I'm going to sit here awkwardly until I leave and Michael Klatt goes on.
You're live, David. We can't hear
Okay,
you.
here I am.
There we
Sorry.
go.
Okay, good. Okay, so I work in Alzheimer's disease space, and the good news here comes after a lot of bad news. In Alzheimer's disease, we've been working on these drugs called monoclonal antibodies for over 15 years, and they're supposed to bind to and remove the toxic pathologic protein that builds up in Alzheimer's disease that causes the disease. And it's been really hard because as all this knowledge accumulates on one side, there's been no disease-modifying drug on the other side. And so people are frustrated. Funders and pharma are getting cold feet. And even retention and recruitment into these trials has gotten difficult. So this year, there's been some mixed data, and one drug company, Biogen, looks like it partially broke through, and it's submitting one of these antibodies to the FDA called aducanumab. And while the approval of that drug may look unlikely, it's a hugely important milestone in this disease and in this journey of trying to get a disease-modifying therapy. And so it's opened up the door to so many other projects, to so many different lines of inquiry into Alzheimer's disease. So 2020 looks like it could be a tipping point from really dismal doldrums into a really bright future and ultimately a disease-modifying therapy. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Michael Klatt.
You're good, Michael.
Good morning. My name is Michael Klatt, and I thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this live audience today and talking about the positives of 2020. For me, a few years ago, I was in a serious vehicle accident, nearly lost my life, and I got to experience, after leading my nonprofit for 32 years, I semi-retired this year, but I got to experience direct care in my own nursing home by caregivers and the frontline workers, and that gave me extraordinary new appreciation for the work that they had been doing with me for many, many years. But the thing about the positives of COVID is the extraordinary recognition of frontline caregivers, not just physicians, but and the registered nurses that are often that we see in TV today, but the housekeeper, the dining services person, the direct nursing assistant. So many individuals that are behind the scenes that often aren't necessarily recognized or appreciated, who've put their lives at risk to support people in their communities and to treat people in this very, very serious disease. It is such a blessing to finally see some of the recognition of frontline caregivers and the work that they're doing that is so important in our country. There are many, many aspects of transformation that will permanently change from this pandemic. Digital healthcare is here to stay. The way we serve and care for seniors is going to see exceptional transformation and new ideas and creativity and lessons learned from this pandemic. So there is profound blessings when you look at this. There is great sadness, and yet I am so very proud of all the folks who have been involved in this vaccine's development, the more vaccines than just one. And what an amazing accomplishment to do that safely, to test it and be able to provide it for people throughout the world. The response to this challenge from Purely Vaccine is amazing. So my appreciation and my thankfulness again to the frontline caregivers in particular, but to all who have sacrificed their lives to take care of friends and neighbors and to the unknown. Thank you so much. And I wish you many, many blessings this holiday season and into the next year. And I'm excited to see what the future has to bring.
Hi, everyone. 2020 has been a difficult year for many of us, but what struck me the most and has made me so happy and grateful has been the fact that our industry really has come together. We experienced something that is truly transformational. So often we don't have a true understanding of what our residents go through, of the things that they face on a day-to-day basis, but we've truly shared that this year. We all struggled in our personal lives, in the lives of our friends and family, the same struggle that our residents face. So that sense of shared experience is a blessing that comes from all of the trouble that we've obviously had with COVID. More importantly, I'm really proud of our industry, the way we've started to interact with one another, to talk, to share, to truly be supportive of each other, not just as individuals on our LinkedIn streams or our personal spaces, but as companies, getting together as leaders in operations, getting together as leaders in sales, to share ideas, strategies. I really think that we are going to see that 2020 is a year that ideas and new concepts for senior care, for retirement care, is hatched, is born. This is the birthplace of our future. And so out of all of the struggle and strife and out of all the difficult days, we are really going to have something to build upon. And the relationships that have been forged at this time are ones that I know are going to last us forever. So thank you to everybody in our industry. Thank you for all the frontline workers. Thank you for the leaders. Thank you, everyone, for setting aside concern and worry about what I might give away if I share my thoughts and my ideas and my strengths and weaknesses, and realizing that as a group, as a community of people who care about and want to uplift elders in the United States and around the world for that matter, we've really done a great job. So thank you to everyone, and look forward to a fantastic 2021. Appreciate everything that everybody's done. Have a great Christmas, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.
Hello, everybody. My name is Steve Fuller. I'm a physician. I'm the president of Illumination Analytics, which is a private research company in senior living with a special focus on assisted living. There's a number of things in the assisted living sector that I think deserve mention from my particular point of view. One is that a good thing that's happened is that there's been a focus now of healthcare, of the importance of healthcare in assisted living. For a long time, in fact, even since its origin, assisted living has primarily been a residential social model, and it really hasn't appreciated the value that healthcare brings to it, and as far as taking care of residents is concerned. But COVID has sort of crystallized that now and brought it more to a point of discussion where more people are talking about it, and even some assisted living communities, unbelievably, are implementing a more rigorous alignment with the healthcare professionals, doctors, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, and so on. And so I think that's one of the things that's been a good thing that's come about in 2020. And there's a couple other things that from my perspective, deserve mentioned as well. One is, another one is that it's really underscored the importance of vaccinations for healthcare professionals. For a long time, we really haven't made a strong enough statement industry-wise, in my particular point of view, for flu vaccinations for not only residents, but also the caregivers of the residents and everyone involved in caring for residents in assisted living or even nursing homes. And so the vaccination coming out for COVID and also the vaccinations that are available for flu are really on the forefront of people's vision right now, and looking to how to really encourage workers and residents to get these vaccinations. And so the second good thing, I think, is that it's brought to the discussion, the public discussion forum, the importance of getting vaccinated for the flu, and now even just as importantly, or even more importantly, the COVID vaccine. And I really hope we have a high rate of participation for vaccinations. Another thing that's been good that's come out in 2020 is really a focus on the implementation of infection control policies and procedures. This has been something, even surprisingly, in nursing homes that has not really had the importance that it deserves to have. And COVID really exposed our vulnerability with respect to how we handle infections. And by virtue of assisted living being so closely aligned with nursing homes, the infection policy and procedures that have been implemented have been a real positive thing that has come to the fore in 2020. Another important thing that's come about is really the realization of the importance of the psychological well-being of people who come into assisted living and our residents there now. That's been sort of an undercurrent of concern, and it's sort of been a passing sort of virtue that assisted living has laid claim to, but really hasn't done enough to speak about the importance of it. And so the psychological well-being of residents of assisted living is now a real important discussion topic and a real important service that is emphasized. And I think that emphasis is another important feature that's come about in 2020. And finally, although there are many good things that have come out in 2020, I think another one is drawing the similarity between assisted living and skilled nursing. Before this, assisted living has been, as everyone knows, primarily a residential social model, and they have wanted to keep an arm's length distance between them and their mother, which are nursing homes. But as a result of getting federal funding, they all of a sudden have embraced their mother and now are in a tight hug with their mother, assisted living and nursing homes, in order to get federal funding. And so this may instigate a troublesome aspect from one standpoint, and that is assisted living is now more closely aligned to nursing homes than perhaps they want to be, but as a result of the need to get federal funding. But it might also have a good thing that would spin out of this, and that is for somebody in assisted living, some corporate entity, some spokesperson that has credentials, a company or a corporation that has credentials could to stand up and lead the assisted living industry for the virtues and all the positive aspects that it has, and to differentiate it from nursing homes. Because if it doesn't step up with an assisted living leader and differentiate itself from nursing homes, then it's all of a sudden going to be subject to the same federal guidelines and same federal regulations, and all of a sudden we'll have the minimum data set implemented in assisted living, and it'll just be one big swimming pool of assisted living and skilled nursing facilities all swimming together in the same water, which is not what I don't believe either industry wants. And so one of the positive things and good things that have come about as a result of this sort of confusion between the difference between assisted living and nursing homes is that it might prompt a leader, a validated assisted living leader, corporation. It has to be a corporation that would stand up and lead the industry and differentiate itself. First of all, define itself what assisted living is, and then lead the industry as a separate and distinct entity from nursing homes. And so that's a few thoughts that I have. I'll always have a lot more thoughts that I'd be happy to share, but that's what I have for today. Han, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today, and I wish everybody happy holidays and a very prosperous new year, and a lot of success in the coming new year. So thanks very much, and I'll stop there.
Hi, I'm Kate Fassbender, and mixed in with all the good things and the bad things that happened this year, there are a few things that rose to the top for me. The first is we found our purpose again in sending cards and postcards and things in the mail as a way of connection. As the creator of the Dementia Letters Project, letters have always been important to my work and what I do. And so it's great to see that other people are rediscovering this very simple and easy way to connect with our loved ones when we can't physically be with them, or we may not have been able to spend enough time with them, as time together is very limited and distant. Another thing for me that became a positive is that I saw an energy of younger people in high school and in college looking to enter the field of aging and dementia. And that is needed. That excitement and that energy is going to help us push forward to accomplish the things that our industry has been talking about for decades at this point. It's new perspectives, it's creativity, it's curiosity, now being, moving into aging and into dementia. And I'm really excited to see where that will go and how that will transform what we're doing. And the third thing that really stood out to me this year as a positive is kind of taking along with that energy and that excitement of younger people entering our industry, is that our industry is now talking with one another. Medical professionals are talking to activities directors. People who are teaching artists or creative arts therapists are now talking to gerontologists and geriatricians. and there's communication going on. There's communication going on beyond between the practitioners and the academics. And there's great hope that this will break down the silos that some of us have been talking about and are concerned about, is that we can now, you know, this year gave us the opportunity to break down those walls, you know, just destroying those silos so that we can communicate and work together to create change, to help those live with great dignity as we age, as we serve those who are in older adults, who are aging, who need us, who we may need someday. And so those are three great things that I have really held on to this year that I hope I and other people will push forward for many, many years to come. And may we always seek light in the darkness, whatever that darkness may be. I hope you all have a fantastic holiday season, and may we continue the positive momentum that we created this year.
This is Rick Banas from Garden Management Solutions. We operate nearly 60 primarily assisted living and memory care communities. And the three positives that I have pulled from this past year is, first, the extraordinary dedication and commitment from the staffs at each of the communities. When you take a look, the extra hours that they have been willing to put in, their embracing of the new policies, procedures, protocols that we have had to put into place over the last 9 months to help protect both residents and staffs at the communities. They're embracing the use of social media and helping residents use social media applications to be able to connect with family members. The second is the creativity, the ways that staffs at the communities have creatively engaged with residents. One of our communities, the dietary department, decided to treat residents to cupcakes for lunch. They shaped meatloaf into the shapes of cupcakes. They took the mashed potatoes and topped the meatloaf with mashed potatoes to look like ice cream with a dollop of ketchup on top for the cherry. A staff member at a community dressed in a turkey costume and handed out turkey grams to residents in their apartments. At another community for Thanksgiving, the staff dressed in costumes and treated residents to an appropriately physically distanced Thanksgiving Day parade. It included Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, elves. Another community with the need for new residents moving into the community to self-quarantine. When Elf on the Shelf showed up for this year's visit, Elf on the Shelf was quarantined in a glass jar for 14 days. One of our communities has set up opportunities for residents and family members to socialize with each other through cheer chat window visits. At one of our communities, when the Kentucky Derby was postponed, they brought in, staff members brought in hobby horses. They set up an obstacle course, and they timed themselves and videotaped themselves racing around the obstacle course to see who had the fastest time. And residents were able to watch the videotape in their apartments. Another one of our communities, many of our communities held and worked on drive-by parades. The one that I'll remember most was held up in Rockford, between the city of Rockford and the community that we operate in Rockford. They got together to host a large drive-by parade for a resident who was a Rockford Peach. If you remember, the Rockford Peaches were featured in the movie League of Our Own. There were 132 cars that lined up for this parade. It was a cloudy day, and the cars were lined up around a parkway with their lights on, And it reminded me of the scene out of Field of Dreams when the cars were driving into the field of the dreams. The third is the reaction that we have seen and the change of reaction that we have seen from family members. At the start of the pandemic, family members, as we went to restricting visitors to essential visitors only, so family members could not come in on a routine basis. And we had lockdowns where residents were not able to come and go at the community the way they normally would come and go. And their initial reaction was, how could you possibly do this? In the past couple of months, it's thank God that you have been able to protect residents and staff members the way you have been able to protect residents and staff members. Want to wish all of you a happy Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, safe and happy holiday season, and thanks for this opportunity.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cliff Ewing. I'm with Carrier Enterprise. One of the big positives for 2020 for me was my new role at Carrier Enterprise. This role was what made it possible for me to connect with Hanh Brown and be a guest on the Boomer Living podcast. We had a great discussion on that podcast. We talked about indoor air quality and ventilation. And one of the positives coming out of 2020 has been the emphasis on indoor air quality and improved ventilation in buildings. And I believe moving forward that occupants are going to be healthier and happier with that improved air quality. On a personal note for myself, I've reawakened my passion for woodworking. I've started a new passion of disc golf, and I find it's less frustrating and a lot less costly than traditional golf. I'm seeking my Living Future accreditation through the International Living Future Institute, something I've been wanting to do for a while, and meditating. I found that it's really helped with my physical, mental, and emotional health. So 2020 has been big about self-care. And outside of myself, I'm very appreciative of my neighbors and my family. I've luckily been surrounded by a group of people that will help out at the drop of a hat. I've been able to carve out time and space to spend mornings with my daughter before she goes to school. I've really enjoyed the time that we've had to bond over mugs of coffee and cocoa and listen to podcasts together. It's been really special, and this pandemic has helped me slow down and find space and find time that was there, but my awareness wasn't there to see it. Also, to my wonderful wife, who's shown great strength and leadership. She's the leader of my daughter's Girl Scout troop, and she's shown perseverance and flexibility to make them have the same fabulous year this year that they did last year. And it's truly amazing to see what she does. And thanks to all the working moms out there. I know this pandemic has been especially hard for you, and my heartfelt thanks. And finally, just getting outside with my family and enjoying nature and really increasing our appreciation of nature. It's better days are on the horizon, and I want to thank all the doctors, nurses, grocery store workers, delivery drivers, countless others that are working so hard to help us through this. And I just want to say that everyone stay healthy, be vigilant, smile with your eyes behind those masks, and have a happy and safe new year. Thank you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Tolan. I'm the Memory Care Program Director at Open Arms Solutions Home Care, just outside Chicago in Northbrook, Illinois. First of all, Hannah, thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts on this hugely challenging year for all of us. I was interested in hearing some of the comments of our earlier presenters, very much in line with their thinking. I've had the pleasure, but also the great challenge of starting a new memory care at home program for our home care clients called Embrace here in the Chicago area. And we started this program actually late last year in the conception phases. And we never dreamed, of course, of what we would see in 2020. But it's really been a great opportunity, as I think Kathryne mentioned, to kind of help transform home care services to our clients with some kind of memory impairment. So for me, that's been one of the biggest successes of our work in 2020. Interestingly, as Stephen mentioned, I think various categories of service, such as assisted living, skilled nursing, and in our case, home care, are really in a transformative kind of phase where they're looking to do things differently as a result of COVID. And so for us, that has actually meant some kind of partnership with some of the communities here in the Chicagoland area who have residents who haven't been able to participate in their normal social activities and otherwise. And it's given us a great opportunity to serve those clients in their home, which is actually within the bounds of the senior community. So I think it is an opportunity for us to break some new ground in the area of dementia and dementia services. And I'm just really pleased to have the opportunity to be engaged in that. We've had already some great success stories with some of our clients, and we're really optimistic about the future and moving forward. And as Cliff said, I too am interested in meditation, so I've had the opportunity this year to really focus a little more on my own personal role as a meditator. So that's been a great opportunity for me as well. So thank you again for this opportunity, and best to you all in 2021.
Hi, I'm Tom Tressler. I'm with Hi Lois. We're a virtual communication platform. And I've seen so much positive come about this year that it's almost hard to focus on the negative. The old saying, we've always done it that way, has completely gone out the window, and that's really a great thing. I've seen both in long-term care communities and with people aging in place, a number of major positives. First of all, the light is really shining on loneliness and isolation, and I cannot believe the creativity, the innovation that's been sparked, both within the professional industry of aging as well as just families, with regard to getting back into touch, getting back connected with their older family members. And it's just been so encouraging. And I hope it sticks. I believe it will, from within the facilities. And everybody that's been talking today just talks about the different efforts that they've been seeing or they've been participating in. And that's encouraging for me. I'm not technically in the industry. I'm just a provider of a service. The other part that I've seen that really is encouraging to me also is my world doesn't revolve around, but involves a lot of outdoor activity, a lot of outdoor exercise. I spend a lot of time on bike paths and on water kayaking and in hiking. And prior to the pandemic, the trails, the bike paths, the waterways were pretty empty. Initially, when everything struck, they were packed. All ages were out. And that tapered off eventually. I think a lot of people remembered why they didn't exercise. But what didn't really taper off, two areas. One were families. And this is from infants and strollers to the grandparents pushing those strollers. And that was incredibly encouraging, as well as just the older adult community as a whole. I see them more than ever on the bike paths, in kayaks, in trails, on the mountains. And it's fantastic because I think we've gotten away from exercise a lot. And it's kind of reinvigorated people. We didn't have a choice. That's all we had to do was exercise, and we couldn't go to the gyms anymore. So it left the outdoors and the parks. And it's the important part for me is to see all these people. When I'm out, sometimes the solitude's great, but I get more pumped when able to see the older adults especially, or them with their families, enjoying nature, because there's such a mental, emotional, and physical benefit to it that we weren't seeing that before. So, there's been organizations, nonprofits springing up to encourage more of that in the future. And I think it's going to go a long way. And so those are my two big takeaways from this year, because they've hit home so well. And I hope everybody does have a great holiday and get outside when you get a chance. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Hey, my name is Chuah. I'm talking to you from Wellington, New Zealand. During March and July this year, I was, my wife and I were planning to take a trip down to Penang, Malaysia, to spend 3 weeks with my mother. But because of the border lockdown, we ended up spending an unplanned 4 months. During that time, there were so many unique experiences that will stay with me for the rest of my life. But today, I just want to focus from a senior living perspective, the positive experience during the 4 months. The first is actually spending almost every day time with my elderly 89-year-old mother and my Penang-based sister, who is just 1 year younger than me. My mother got diagnosed with Alzheimer in late January this year. In fact, she got diagnosed on the eve of Chinese New Year, which is kind of traumatic for the family. But during the 4 months, I got to see firsthand and experience and share with my mother her Alzheimer journey. So together with my siblings, I've got to experience the highs and lows firsthand of what it is like being an active daily carer for someone with Alzheimer. I am richer from this experience by realizing that loving someone does not always mean you can be their full-time caregiver. At some point, we have learned to hand over that caring to somebody else. I experienced firsthand carer fatigue and how it affects me and those around me. I'm also richer by my experience living the tension and the challenges of having to make difficult decisions, sometimes under pressure on what is best for our elderly mother. I had got to experience the planning and then proceeding to transition my mother from being cared for at home and shifting her eventually to a residential setting. There were a range of emotions and there were a range of views between myself and my siblings. And we all had to learn to trust and listen to each other and eventually needed to think about what was best for our mother rather than what each of us thought from our individual perspective. The other thing I really got to see in that whole journey is to see firsthand the impact that professional carers and providers can make both in a home care setting as well as a residential care facility. The challenges and the difference that carers can make between those who are very task-orientated and those who go the extra mile to reassure, to comfort, and listen to a distraught and confused elderly person. I saw firsthand the loneliness of an elderly person trapped at home during the COVID lockdown. It reinforced for me the importance of meaningful social engagement and connections for the elderly's well-being. Take that away, the confusion and frustration for the elderly can trigger both physical and mental acute episodes. I'm grateful to my siblings and our spouse that allowed us to spend so much time with our mother to collectively think about how we can support her as she travels this journey. Now, I will conclude by saying all those unique experiences which I have not experienced before has given me an immense personal insight that for me a year ago, they were actually locked up in my head in a professional arm's length head knowledge. These experiences have made me, professionally to be even more committed on how I can contribute towards a global, national and a local agenda of better care for elderly. And finally, personally, to start in earnest planning for how I would like to be cared for as I continue my journey as a new senior. As a postscript in finishing, and one of the other unique experiences was I somehow managed to get in touch with a network of my primary school colleagues, whom some I have not met for over 50 years. And at one dinner, the only thing we talked about really was who was going to look after us in the next 10 to 20 years. So Han, that's my experience. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak. And I wish everybody happy and safe holidays. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Han. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Loretta Shacklett, the founder and owner of Simplify Senior Living, located in Eastern Pennsylvania. Simplify Senior Living is a concierge service providing a holistic approach to senior home care that puts quality of life first. I am a passionate advocate for seniors' dignity and their safety. I have my certification as a certified senior advisor and over 20 years experience in family counseling and life coaching. And all of that makes my priority serving older adults is to provide them with emotional support and quality companionship, all while accomplishing the tasks seniors need the most help with. I offer my adult clients a connection and a relationship on a deeper level. And now with social isolation, it's never been more important. We all know that providing emotional support is key to keeping your loved ones physically and mentally fit. I've learned many things from my seniors these past 8 or 9 months. I realized very quickly, though, that many seniors realized right from the very beginning that social distancing didn't have to mean necessarily social isolation. Talking about positives, technology has been such a positive in seniors' lives. Many seniors are finding that they're staying better connected to friends and family through technology. They're able to celebrate milestones with family members across great geographical distances that they never were able to do before. Seniors are now part of fun family Zoom calls that never happened before 2020. They connect, they play games with family members. One senior I know Zooms with her granddaughter, and they cook together in separate kitchens, actually in separate states. You know, it's kind of good to remember that seniors have been lonely for a long time. With the rest of the world slowing down, families have made room and time for their older loved ones. More and more seniors are connecting with family and friends via technology and Zoom. Family and friends, in turn, often find these connections convenient and a lot less stressful. Studies show that social network platforms that were once populated primarily by young adults are now increasingly embraced by older adults. That's another wonderful positive. Seniors are notably resilient. They call upon a lifetime of experience and perspective to help them through difficult times. Studies suggest that older adults better withstand mental health strains of the pandemic thanks to increased resilience. Resilience is often linked and goes hand in hand with wisdom, and who is wiser than our seniors? Another positive is that seniors have taken the COVID-19 pandemic very seriously. They've listened to public health authorities and they've taken the steps to minimize their risks. I'd like to leave you this afternoon with a story of one of my clients, Louise. Louise lived with her daughter and her 3 grandchildren, a teenager and 2 younger children. And she rambled around in a big old house by herself and was very, very lonely. Louise now feels less isolated than prior to the pandemic. Because she lives in a multi-generational household with family members who no longer rush off to school or to work, she's found a new purpose helping her grandchildren with distance learning. She's doing some cooking and some laundry, and the rest of the family is grateful and appreciates her. She has purpose and relevance, and she feels needed now. And we all know our emotional well-being plays a big role in our overall health. Having a sense of meaning and purpose can impact health in a positive way. A strong sense of purpose might slow down the aging process and increase longevity. So here's to another big positive. Seniors with a strong sense of purpose have been shown to be happier, take better care of themselves, and lead healthier lives. In closing, I've learned from the seniors that I work with that they can accomplish great things because of their age and not in spite of it. I'm so grateful for all the things I've learned from seniors over the past 8 or 9 months, and I've enjoyed their company immensely. And I'm especially grateful for all the wisdom they've shared with me. Thank you, Han, for having me today, and wishing everyone many blessings in 2021.
Hi, and thank you for having me. My name is Christine Thelker, and I'm from Vernon, BC, Canada. For me, it's been a year of watching people struggle to find positive things in the middle of this pandemic. And a pandemic is something most of us never thought we would see in our lifetime. After all, most of us thought those were things of the past and not something we would ever have to worry about given how far we've come. But I also believe that there's lessons to be learned from the past for us today. And I think about how fortunate we are that we live in a time where, just as Loretta was saying, we can stay connected via video, FaceTime, Zoom. And as a person living with dementia, and as a person who lives alone, that is my whole connection and has been for several months now. So it's a huge gift to have that, and it's a huge positive that we have. And I think sometimes we forget to sit back and go, wow, this is something that we should really appreciate. And it's one of those positives. We can stay connected to our loved ones, to our friends, all of those things. We're fortunate that our medical practices and our hospitals are so well equipped now with ventilators and unbelievable ICUs and their capabilities to help people have a fighting chance during a pandemic, which 25 years ago wasn't possible. So that's another positive. So there are many positives. We have had that ability to have that quieter time, to work from home, to readjust and reevaluate what's really important to us. I think back to that old saying, are you working to live or living to work? And people have really been given the chance to really sit back and reflect on that a little bit. Absolutely, we've had difficult challenges, and there's businesses that won't make it. There's others that are going to thrive. There's going to be new ones come up. We'll go forward with a new way of doing things, and I hope we can do it in a really positive manner. I hope we take the time to look at the lessons and look at the gifts that are within the pandemic. I think about how it has put such a focus on our seniors and the importance of how we're taking care of them and what we need to do to make that better as we go forward. So as tragic as it is on one hand, it's a silver lining on another, because finally those types of things are coming into focus. So I really hope that we all take this time, and as we move forward to the end of this year, we take the time to look forward with hope, for a better outcome, for a better way forward as we come out of the pandemic, and that we all are a little gentler and a little kinder to all the other people in the world around us and to the world in itself, and make a better world for us all. Um, I think the pandemic has been truly tragic and heartbreaking to watch, what's happened for so many, but at the same time, it has offered many positives if we just take the time to have a look. So, thank you all very much for having me. I wish you all many blessings in the coming year, and may we all move forward with hope and purpose, and stay driven to see things improve for everyone going forward. Thank you very much.
Hello. I am so honored and grateful to be able to join you today for this hopeful event, focusing on the positives of 2020. And there are positives. I think it has been an opportunity to reset a lot of the events from this past year, an opportunity to move forward and make connections in new, unexpected, and familiar ways, finding new ways to connect and reprioritizing, thinking about what is important to us, what do we need, and what do we really need. And as a creative person, I think about just how much we are all using our creativity now and have been through this past year. Improvisation at times of these greater restrictions, and making more lemonade out of lemons and oranges and grapefruit. Yeah, we are perhaps deriving greater pleasure in simpler practices. Seen a lot of this, lots of creativity and working together, and connections and unity, more of a sort of collective compassion. We've got a long way to go, but people are coming together, and we are celebrating differences and honoring differences, I think, more now. And, I think as a human species, we tend to come together in times of great need, and out of intense periods of grief and trauma, we find resilience and strength, and are able to move forward and create, taking one step in front of the other together. So, looking at 2020 and thinking about these positives, I just want to encourage all of you to keep taking those deep breaths and keep moving forward and creating, making lemonade out of lemons and oranges and grapefruit. Keep moving and continue to look for ways to connect in new, exciting, familiar, and comforting ways. So thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be with you this afternoon. My name is Krystal Culler. I'm the founder of the Virtual Brain Health Center and a Senior Atlantic Fellow with the Global Brain Health Institute. My work works around helping people optimize their brain health and wellness. And I think some of the great things that 2020, kind of the backside of the coin, has really been able to offer us has been an environment to be able to connect with one another. I know a lot of the chatter at the early of 2020 was the idea that we wanted to physically distance ourselves, but we've changed a lot of the language and knowing how important it is that words matter. And so the idea that we wanted to focus on using the language that we want to remain physically distanced from one another, to remain safe amongst COVID-19, but the idea that we want to remain socially connected. And so I think we've seen a lot of innovation and opportunities for people to leverage, whether it's technology or creativity, to create opportunities and spaces for engagement for us to be able to do that. And we've been seeing that kind of evolve and ebb and flow over this year. I'm excited to see what things will look like for us to do that next year as well. It's been an opportunity for many of us to also have time to spend going inward and seeing a lot of the dialogue and conversations and chats that I've had with people. I feel so fortunate. I think there's been virtual coffees and networking groups and so many opportunities. I think it's been over 100 at least times on my calendar this year to talk with people and really start to look like what the quote normal will look like after COVID-19. I've kind of stayed away from some of that conversation because I think many of us are pushing back on the idea that there is no normal for us to return to, and really starting for some of us to think about what aspects in our lives that were normal before that we want to return to. What aspects of our lives do we want to take this time to reinvent, repurpose, and refold in after COVID-19? And for many of us that are working in various aspects in industry, from aging care and healthcare, many of us know that old normal before COVID-19 wasn't healthy. There were aspects of it that were not serving us well. And there are things that we can reinvent. And what COVID-19, I think, did for many of us was kind of took a disco ball and put the lights on all these different issues that we knew in healthcare, social determinants of health, the inequalities that existed, and spotlighted many of these issues at one time. And we know as a whole, we have many things to tackle, but we have lots of work that we can do. And when we're taking that from a big societal level and policy level down to what we as individuals can do, we can take this time to reflect inward. We now know how very interconnected our world is, and we have seen how one thing that can start in one aspect of the world can travel across the globe, how it can infect all of us, how it impacts our families, how it can impact our daily lives. But there are many things that we can do and different things that can keep us moving forward. So I have found that that has been the backside of the coin for COVID-19, as well as all of those multiple conversations and networking groups and opportunities like this, where we get to connect and hear different perspectives from one another, has been really reassuring, and seeing the passion, the intelligence, the compassion, the authenticity, and all these other things from individuals in the field across these various sectors that want to come together to do well, to do the right thing, push the needle forward, and provide these services for the populations that we're serving, and saying, now this has happened, how are we going to move forward? How are we going to do well? And how are we going to serve those populations that we work with, from aging adults to other vulnerable populations, and those that are in our care, from the people that we work with, as well as ourselves, and say, we have to take care of everyone. And how are we going to do that with positivity during a time that has really just shaken up everyone, shaken up our work environment, shaken up our daily lives, but underneath it all has given us some opportunities and gifts to change and evolve. And so I hope this might give you some insights for kind of the positives that 2020 has given us, For me, it's given me an opportunity to connect with many like-minded individuals. I'm so glad to have this kind of platform to share a few of the thoughts from many people that I have chatted with. I'm grateful for the virtual brain health center that we have and the faculty that we've had on staff, that they come together and share their passion and their intelligence and their expertise with others. I hope all of us will remember to practice a little bit of self-care as we unwind and recognize the interconnectedness that we all have. May you and yours be safe and well during this changing time. Keep in mind that many of us are sending positive thoughts your way. May you prioritize your mental resilience, your good health, and may you have joy in all that you do. May you be surrounded with kindness for yourself and others as you navigate the interconnectedness of yourself, your families and friends in the world this holiday season. Take care and be well. On behalf of the Virtual Brain Health Center and myself, thank you for your time and your gift of presence during this chat.
Good morning, Hannah. I just so much appreciate being invited to take part in this. And for me, there's so much to be grateful for. I know with the group, the people I work with, we've got much to grieve. My company is the Dementia and Alzheimer's Wellbeing Network. And for me, the isolation has been just crippling and so harmful for people who are experiencing dementia and for their caregivers and their families. But at the same time, what I've seen happening here during 2020 we've seen the fabric of our daily lives disrupted, and disruption and change can really be it just throws everything up in the air for us, and many of us resist change. But when we get disruption like this, good things come out of it. And so when I think back in 2020 and the changes that we've all been forced to deal with, two things stand out for me that make me extremely grateful. And it comes from just moments during the year. But the first is that we have a slower pace. We've been forced to actually slow down and live life at a slower pace. Many of us are finding ourselves working from home. But the times this year that have really lifted my heart is when I've had to call on a helpline or talk to another business trying to get goods or trying to get services. And I discovered that I'm talking to somebody who is now able to work from home, somebody who is part of the lower paid segment of our workforce, maybe a receptionist, somebody who's always worked as a receptionist or on a helpline. And the first time it happened, I was talking to another woman on the line, and all of a sudden I heard children in the background. And she paused and she shushed them. And I said, "Oh, are you working from home? Are you able to work from home? Don't shush them, they sound so happy." And we had this lovely, just a few minutes to chat, she and I, about what an improvement it was to be able to work in the service industry and be able to be home with her children, be with her children. And I remember back in the first time I ever was able to spend time in Europe. In the summer of 1997, I went as a student on a scholarship. And the first 2 weeks I was in Europe, I was in a small Austrian town, a village, Sanchahan. And being there, I very quickly discovered that you couldn't go buy groceries anytime, just any time of the day or night. You couldn't go to the post office on your lunch hour. You couldn't go to a pharmacy in the evening unless you had an emergency. And at first I thought, well, how does a culture, how does a modern society even function without 24-hour service? And then as I spent the rest of the summer there in Europe, in Austria and Germany, I discovered that once you expect to have a family life, to have 2-hour lunches home with your family, once you know that you need to purchase your groceries during certain hours of the day or buy certain goods on certain days of the week, well, then you organize your life around it, and all of a sudden life slows down and family becomes equally as important as work and career. And I saw a glimpse of that here this year, that now we here in this country, where for so long we've been working 40-hour weeks plus that mandatory hour for lunch hour. And I'm talking about those of us who are at the lower end of the pay scale, and having to commute. People who are working for minimum wage are spending hours commuting and away from home, away from their children, away from their spouses. So to me, that was the number one first thing I'm extremely grateful for in 2020, is that forcibly we've been knocked off stride. We've been forced to look at life a little differently. It's brought a lot of heartache and about a lot of loss. And especially for my clientele, isolation is just deadly. But on the other hand, there's always good. And to be able to live more slowly at a slower pace, that's the number one thing I'm thankful for. And then, the other thing I think has really, really been wonderful is that we are all a little more relaxed. How many of us don't have to wear high-heeled shoes for the greater part of our lives all week long? As an attorney, I don't look forward to a life where I have to spend a tremendous amount of money on a wardrobe and jewelry and makeup to look like a woman who needs to be taken seriously. I think it's something to be very grateful for, that we are all now able to be a little more real, a little more comfortable. And I think that's a bonus. The other thing I think I'm the most grateful for is the way when adversity strikes, that I have seen people draw together. And this year, there's a community of dementia care workers, people in the industry at various levels that are now community. And I don't think that would have happened if we were all working at the same pace that we were before. I'm seeing the same thing happening with caregiver groups on Facebook. I'm seeing just a willingness to reach out, talk on the phone, meet on Zoom, and just talk about possibilities, ways we can think outside the box and improve whatever our field of endeavor is, the greater sharing. So thank you, Hannah, for doing this, for setting this up, for giving all of us an opportunity to express our gratitude and look at the silver lining, look at the positive things that have come in this year of tremendous change. Thank you.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I guess. Obviously out on the West Coast, would still be in morning. My name is Jim Biggs. I am the executive, I'm Chief Executive Officer of West Bay Senior Living. I'm also a adjunct lecturer at University of Southern California. And so again, 2020 has been an interesting year. I got to admit, starting in January, about half of my students are from from China, the mainland, and I'd also done a startup there for 6 years, so a lot of connections, a lot of friends. But they kept on hearing this slow but steady drip, drip, drip about this virus outbreak, and that was kind of on their radar. And some of it came up in class with some of the questions as we began to understand it's a disease that seems to single out or target the elderly. And that was as early as January. At the time, I was not only teaching, I was also the executive director at the Carrington, kind of long, complicated story, but that was our biggest client. I chose to be there. And when we had our first COVID outbreak in April, I chose to stay there at the community. So yeah, I kind of had a firsthand experience with COVID. Again, kind of, I know we're looking at the positive things, but we all are kind of approaching this from different perspectives. For me, I kind of looked around, and it was like, that with somewhat quote Nietzsche, that which does not kill us makes us stronger, and kind of words to kind of sustain the staff. And as we all kind of faced this fear of the unknown when that COVID hit the community. But actually, and again, I read a book, I think in high school, Man's Search for Meaning, and by Viktor Frankl. Wonderful book that's kind of just, it's a philosophical approach about, actually, it's about the Holocaust. I'm not comparing COVID to the Holocaust, but some of those life lessons of people who kind of went through it. And one of the quote, I got to read it here because my memory is not what it used to be. But it's hard to admit no external force or circumstance can influence us or change us if we don't want to. It's our choice. And I like that quote. I liked it a lot. Used it back in April, and going to use it here again today because we made a conscious choice not to focus on the disease, but to focus on the residents, on the staff, and those of us who were kind of hanging in there. Coming to work, punching the clock, working. I think I worked 54 straight days. And again, I'm an old man, age 60, and working in an active COVID environment where Windows, I should say, was kind of it. But what sustained us, what kept us going, was that choice to have a positive attitude, and that's it. I think that the lessons that we learn. Number one, with the industry, and I've been doing this for 33 years now. As I said, 6 years in China, the rest of the time here in the United States. And amazingly, we no longer, when I came back from China, I was hearing a lot of stuff about, we're going to make senior housing like cruise ships. Boy, doesn't that sound ironic now? The last thing anyone wants to jump on is a cruise ship, and I think we've kind of pushed some of that advertising out of it, and that's good news for us. I scanned prior to this a lot of the people who are attending this, who follow this great service that Han provides for us here and it's a lot of doers, it's a lot of hands-on people, and guys, positive speaking, it's our time now. These are where, we are all essential people. We needed to be at the community. We needed to be in the industry. We needed to be with the seniors. And I think there's a growing recognition that this senior care is not about the cruise ship. That's nice. That's entry level, but it's those of us who understand that the underlying supportive services that the seniors need, both in good times and bad. I think this COVID virus has kind of brought that to the surface, and it's fantastic to see a lot of the tech coming down the pike, a lot of the innovative ideas, and even some of the changes to senior housing communities themselves to better adapt this environment. It's good news. It's good news. Number two, I think that sense of camaraderie and teamwork. And again, I listened to a few of the speakers comment on that, and it goes back a long time ago. Was at 6 years in the military. Some of that training about what happens, as they said, when the bullets start flying, they used to talk about small units, and they were talked about people who would, first time in combat, some would run towards the fire, some freeze, and some would just run off in the opposite direction. And you focus on, as a leader, oddly enough, those people who freeze, who are frozen. For a lot of those people, we helped bring them along. They may have taken a couple days off immediately when the COVID hit, but bit by bit, they all came back to work. And now there is a sense of confidence. There is a sense of teamwork and camaraderie, and that sometimes, that old expression, it takes, the stress and carbon to make a diamond. I think the industry, the teams that are there, the people who have stayed in the industry throughout COVID, the essential workers like us, I think in the long run, the products are going to get better. We're going to be more in tune with the needs of the seniors. And when we're talking to our friends who provide the equity, the investors, et cetera, or the not-for-profit boards, our voices will be heard. So again, I want to thank everybody for putting this thing together. It is really, truly, it's a great thing, and a reminder. Again, coming back with Frankel, we need conscious choices to be positive, and I applaud all of you today for taking that step to be positive. Thank you very much.
Hi there. My name is Chris Himes. I'm the managing partner with Westport One. We're a talent access recruitment firm that specializes in senior living, helping to identify and deliver top community leadership and executive leadership within the industry nationwide. From a silver lining standpoint, there are a lot of things that we really do have to be grateful for in 2020, in spite of everything that has happened. We've had many conversations with community leaders who are simply burnt out, but we've had even more conversations with those that have doubled down on their passion for this industry and doubled down on their residents. And that's really uplifting. The fact that there has been incredible commitment from some of the investors in this industry has really shown their care, their commitment, and their compassion. From covering childcare costs to paying bonuses based upon the average move-ins, even when no move-ins were allowed, to the extensive expenses of PPE and all the new safety measures and technology that has been needed to keep the residents both safe and the staff safe. Another silver lining and reality is people are still making career moves. I remember a recent executive director that we placed, that when we gave them the offer, their spouse was crying in the background from happiness because their husband had gotten the job and the location they had been dreaming of. Another silver lining is the technical advancements that have happened in this industry. These have happened not only for the industry, for the residents, for the staff, but also in our personal lives. And I'm really excited to see how that grows even further. A personal silver lining that's been a benefit to myself and many in the workforce is the reality that work from home actually works. Not too many times you're doing a video like this and you're in a basement with a foosball table behind you. But in this world, this is the reality. I understand that it's not possible for everybody. The frontline workers and many of the community leaders, they simply need to be in the community to take care of the residents. But for some of the ancillary services, from some of the executive staff, the work from home has given the opportunity for flexibility with family, to take care of things that are needed to be done, to keep everyone safe. But the benefits that have come from that have been more family engagement. I know personally we've played a lot more board games this year with our kids than we ever have in our life. So I think that has been a great benefit. Even in these challenging times, people are generous. During my 24-hour run that I did back in October, we were able to raise $20,000 from more than 100 donors. Some of them were complete strangers. And this proves that people care when you care. Like Tom said earlier, I have loved seeing all the people outside. In fact, there's been more people outside, not only in our community, but also at the parks and lakes than ever before. I believe that we have the ability to continue to spread the good news and the amazing stories of the care and compassion in the senior living industry that could hopefully bust through the negativity that's out there. We can all be champions of this cause. Han, I want to thank you for putting on this event. This is a great way to finish off 2020. While I know we still have a couple weeks left, this is a great way to bring us into 2021. From myself and my team at Westport One, we wish you a wonderful holiday season, and we're looking forward to an incredible 2021. I believe that it will both be fulfilling and a prosperous year. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Rachel Blumberg. I'm an executive director for CCRC, which is a senior living community in Florida. I wanted to thank you for tuning in, and of course, thank Han for hosting this opportunity. It's really nice to take a step back and look at the positive reflections that we have on the year of 2020. There are so many different things that the pandemic has revealed, and some of these things might have always been there, but maybe we just didn't have the time or the willingness to look at them deeply or accept them. Here in my community, I want to share with you two different types of perspectives. The perspective of how 2020 has been a positive, the takeaways, the silver linings, if you will, from a resident's perspective, but also the team members too. It's certainly been a difficult year for them, but there are many positive outcomes that I see for the residents and for our team members. Now, for the residents, having no group activities, no dining has certainly been, I would say, on the top of the list for the most challenges. However, if we want to look at it from a positive outcome, it has given everybody the opportunity to bond more on a one-to-one level. We did a variety of things to help our residents in independent living so that they didn't feel isolated in their homes. We created a buddy system with our residents. So a resident and another resident would be buddied up together, or team members would be buddied up. We also started a pen pal program with a local school that I don't think would have happened if it hadn't been for the pandemic. Excuse me. Personally, as the executive director, I have a list of residents who have reached out to me who wanted to be my buddy this year. And that's an opportunity I don't think that I or the residents would have had if it wasn't for the pandemic. They simply just want a weekly call to check in. So we have a certain time and day of every week where I check in with those residents. And it's not to talk about business or operations. We just speak as two human beings who care about connecting with each other in a time of such isolation. I think the overall connections with the residents have formed an even stronger bond. Many of our residents, their family members don't live locally, and through most of the year, they were not allowed to visit due to social isolation and safety restrictions. So we became an extension of their family who can't be here. Not only that, some of our residents do not have family at all. And in those circumstances, we even more became their family and the person that they leaned on the most through the pandemic. So what I saw from that were many more random acts of kindness. And I want to give you an example. We have a housekeeper who noticed some of the residents in our villas didn't have holiday lights outside their homes. So she quietly went and brought holiday lights and installed them in their bushes while they weren't noticing. She wasn't looking for notoriety. She wasn't looking for praise. She just wanted to do a simple, random act of kindness. And the residents refer to her now as the holiday fairy. I think the pandemic has made us all think more about giving more to others genuinely from our heart. There have been more heartstring moments driven in an effort to overcome the negativity. There's something called the second paycheck. It's not a check that you can take home or to the bank, but rather it's the feeling of reward you take home at the end of the day from work. It's that feeling of fulfillment that you made a difference in somebody's life for the better that day. I think all of us are feeling many more second paychecks when we're driving home at the end of the day. From an active perspective, we have 80 acres here on our campus. I absolutely have noticed our residents out and active more than ever, walking and swimming and taking care of themselves from a different way. Another example of what I think is a positive outcome from a team member's perspective is it really opened our eyes and the team members' eyes to our financial health and wealth and of our future. Regardless of somebody's age, I think it's brought to the forefront more so than ever for seniors who work in senior living that we all must buckle down and invest well to plan for our future when we become seniors too. In our community, the majority of our residents were really good savers during their lifetime. Many younger generations now, including my generation, were more spenders than savers. But I think the pandemic has really opened so many people's eyes to value and appreciate the hard work our seniors put into investing a solid and secure future for themselves. It takes time, sacrifices, and lots of planning. With that said, regrettably, there are millions of seniors who outlive their financial resources all the time. A positive outcome of the pandemic was the rude awakening to so many team members, not only to take their not to take their job for granted, because we've seen how it's affected so many other industries, hospitality, restaurants, retail, but to reevaluate our own financial planning for their. We all know the days of pensions are long gone, and it's up to each of us to figure out how we can make sure we can afford the same great care we provide to our residents when we are their age. Here on my campus, we've had significantly more interest in our 403B retirement fund, and that I think is a really good positive outcome from the pandemic. It tells me that the team members are engaging in those platforms for their own future. We are also learning to do things differently. It's pushed residents to use technologies in ways they haven't before. They've learned how to Zoom. We actually learned how to have an internal television news channel in our campus. I have a resident who learned how to play Mahjong with her sister who lives all the way across the country. And that regular, meaningful connection has been very uplifting for both of them. We learned how to celebrate differently this year. We got really good at having parades. Birthday parties also became a very special, different way of celebrating. We deliver cupcakes to the doors of our residents. With a virtual party, they were invited that evening, all the birthdays on the campus. We also had 17 students in our culinary department who graduated high school. Because of the pandemic, their high school graduation was postponed. However, that gave us an opportunity to celebrate here. We had our own safe social distance graduation ceremony outside with all of the residents, with all of the students for the residents to enjoy. All in all, we've appreciated our health more than ever. Although we work in healthcare and we witness chronic illness on a daily basis, it's easy to take your good health for granted. I think the pandemic has opened our eyes to taking care of ourselves and our residents on a higher, deeper level of meaning and care. Thank you very much for having me here today. Have a blessed day.
Hi, I'm Tricia Silverman. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm a registered dietitian and a fitness instructor and a wellness coach. And I've been helping the senior, or I like to call it the active aging community, in various capacities during this time. And I've seen a lot of silver linings. The huge one is technology. And I see more seniors getting on Zoom. And I've worked with different organizations that work with the active aging population. And it's just wonderful how I've seen people get together over this time. So for instance, one health insurance company that I work with, they have provided free nutrition programs and also free meditation programs to senior centers across the state of Massachusetts over this time. So monthly they get several, at least 2 presentations, and that's been wonderful. So I've gotten to spread the good word of nutrition during this time. And then the senior centers, they advertise it through their newsletters, and it's, getting the word out. And then the cable stations, so a way to get the word out to more seniors is that many of them aren't getting on Zoom and technology. So what we've done is taped some of the presentations, and then the local cable access television, the television stations in each town, they will play some of those presentations so we can reach people that are in their homes but maybe aren't getting onto Zoom. So I found that, I'm very thankful for the technology, for Zoom, and then for the, the technology that we already have and we're using, like the cable TV station, so that we can still keep reaching the active aging population. I also have done some work with a group called My Health Angel, and through that group, they serve the senior population. They've been having wonderful sessions and seminars that are geared toward the active aging population. It's really brought people together. And what's nice is that they're not only there to listen, but they can participate, ask questions, and then share. And it's it can be Zoom, and Zooming into these meetings can be a really great time to bring people together. And I've seen that happen. And I wanted to just share with you a few tips that I think can be helpful during this time that ties right into the silver linings and the great things. And that's, as a dietitian, I think it's such a wonderful time to start experimenting with more food. And that can be food that you prepare, or some food that's already easily prepared for you, depending on, how much that you can cook. One of the silver linings for me has been red cabbage, and I never realized how much that I love it. And during this time, with more time at home, we started experimenting in my home, and I found that, wow, I love red cabbage, whether it's raw or cooked. It's really quite delicious. Another thing that I love about red cabbage and cabbage in general, that it'll last till the end of the week. So if you don't want to go do a lot of shopping during this time, well, you can buy cabbages, because those will last till the end of your week and longer. Now, another item that I have here is winter squash. And what I love about winter squash, that of course also will last beyond that week of all the items you shopped for. Winter squash will last several weeks. So it's great that you can have fresh veggies in your house, and that will really last you. Another silver lining for me in that same, in the cabbage family, so this looks like coleslaw, right? Well, you don't have to drain it in mayonnaise. We can make a healthier option with this and just use I have a recipe where I take a cup of cauliflower and just a teaspoon of maple syrup and not cauliflower, this is a chopped up cabbage slaw. You could do chopped up other veggies too. You might see broccoli slaw, but a teaspoon of vinegar, and I like apple cider vinegar, a teaspoon of mayonnaise, and a teaspoon of maple syrup, and just a touch of salt and pepper. And it's a really great meal just for one. Many in our active aging communities are a family of one, and that's a really easy salad, very easy to prepare. And, part of it is already prepared for you. One of the active agers that attended my presentation earlier today mentioned that she really loves the cauliflower and broccoli rice that's available now. So I do see that seniors or active agers are experimenting with foods during this time. And I think it really is a great time do that. Whether we're shopping online or whether we're going to the supermarket, it's really a great time to experiment with new foods. Now, the other silver linings of this time is that we may have more time in our hands where we can call and reach out to people. So I became friendly with an active ager. I wrote about him in my book. His name is Castor, and he is 98 years old. And we became friends and stayed in touch after one of my senior center visits a few years ago. And we've been checking in over this time. I think it's a great time where we can reach out to relatives and to seniors that are home. I reached out to a college professor recently and had a wonderful conversation. So what is silver lining of this year? I think if this year, the things that are happening, if they didn't happen, I wouldn't have had this time to reflect and to reach out to people. So I want to thank you so much for having me here today, and I wish you the healthiest and happiest of holidays and a really wonderful, and let's just keep moving along, keeping positive. One more little tip is the Insight Timer app has been very helpful for me. That's another silver lining of this time. It can be really helpful for the people that you work with. Meditation is just a wonderful way to really feel better and to just tune into the now, into the moment, and to just help change your perspective and feel really good. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline Cadelbert. I am the marketing director here at St. Therese in Woodbury. Thank you for allowing me to join you all this afternoon to discuss this important topic, reflecting on positives of 2020. Here at St. Therese, we're a senior living community located in Woodbury, Minnesota, with 224 apartments, from independent living to assisted living and memory care. And we also have a care center that includes long-term care and transitional care. That we have 56 care center suites. And I have to say, this is my first ever podcast, so thank you again for inviting me, and it's wonderful to meet you all. So when I was asked to join the podcast, I have to say our facility has been trying to focus on the COVID positives versus all the COVID negatives. When we reflect back on 2020 and what we have learned, there's so many things. And I have my list in front of me, and if I were to go down it, I think I would be here for probably an hour. So I'm going to highlight the things that come to my mind right away. And the first thing I have to say is our incredible staff. The staff, working with them, it makes me get teary-eyed because they have stepped up to really, really protect our seniors. And that is just the most incredible experience of 2020, I can say that I've had. People not taking PTO to make sure they're here to protect our seniors. So I can relate kind of to what Jim said earlier about not taking PTO. It just shows the dedication and drive that our employees continue to have. And we're all looking forward to the vaccines. But I think things aren't going to change. So we, again, are focusing on the positives of what we can do differently to keep our seniors positive, the staff positive, as we all work through this together. Some of the things that I do right now to protect our seniors is I promote how wonderful it is to live in a senior living community. We have a lot of independent living apartments, and families are very hesitant to move their loved ones here. So I'm there to share the facts with them. We only have had one case of COVID this entire, since March, in our independent living housing area. I share that fact with them. They can see the facts on the website, so they know, that we're doing a good job. All of our staff are wearing their PPE, and who would have thought, a year ago that we would be wearing masks and staying socially distant and wearing shields and gowns and looking scary to our residents. And when we first put those masks on, that was scary for our residents. We shared with them how this is to keep you safe and protect you. And then they wanted to jump on the same wagon with us. So that worked out well. The community stepped up and made masks for us and gowns, and it's just incredible. We became pen pals. And what can we do for our residents? I don't see this going away. And if anything, if COVID has taught us, it's how we can actually bond better in our communities to be together and provide the cares and the support that we truly need for all of our residents. Some of the things that from an employer standpoint that we really learn from is our residents. We learn from our residents. We learn from the staff. We have changed our ways. I don't see us going back to the old, normal, whatever that is. Who would have thought normal would have been a word that we'd be using over and over. But you just learn to become more creative. So it made us dig deep within ourselves to how can we keep our seniors socially and physically active. We've done things we call blue box bingo. That's a real big hit, where the residents have to stay in their boxes, or if they're out there socializing for their happy hours, they know they have to wear their masks and stay socially distant while they play bingo or just catch up with each other. Staying physically active, we learn to show stretch and flex and better balance on our camera that's broadcast throughout our entire campus, so that they stay physically fit, as well as walking outside in groups together, wearing their masks so that they can catch up with each other. Our dining experience has changed a lot. Anybody on here probably can relate. Congregate dining, what is that? How do you do that now? It's just so different with keeping each other distant, but yet still engaged and looking forward to eating off plates and not out of styrofoam containers in their apartments like they did for a while at first. So things have changed, yes. Will they stay this way? In a way, most likely. But it's for the good, so that we can protect our residents even more. There's so many other things we have learned from this, and our infection control processes, I know that everyone probably can relate on here, have changed dramatically. From utilizing hand sanitizers till our hands are so red, cracked, and dried, and masks and face shields, like I mentioned earlier, and gowns and gloves. And remember at first, the N95 masks, who knew what those were? We learned so much about that. We now have stock PPE, things we never really had. And when we couldn't get these things, our community, still is constantly asking us, how can we help you? What can we do? So the care is just phenomenal. And the warmth from our community members. We actually also implemented an electrostatic sprayer device that stops the spread of airborne pathogens. Had it not been for COVID, we would never have that. We created a negative pressure and ionization rooms to prevent the spread of bacteria. Again, thank you, COVID. I know that sounds funny, but really that's what we're doing. We have separate employee break rooms, something we never had before. So now we don't have to worry about overcrowding or if there's a seat at the table. So that was a positive as well. We created an infection prevention position, something we never had before. Thank you, COVID. And adding a full-time staff development employee to continually provide constant education so we can continue these best practices for our residents. Safer practices for our activities such as communion. That's changed a lot. We're a Catholic community, so communion, distributing that has changed dramatically. Even not even bringing in treats. If we do bring in treats, everything has to be individually wrapped so that we don't, make sure that we're being very conscious for spreading of any infections. Our mission here at St. Therese is do ordinary things with extraordinary love. And I have to say that's something we've continued to do and will continue to do. I've actually cleaned windows for residents that we needed that assistance because we're not allowing vendors on our campus. And so have, I don't want to just say what I've done, but so have many of the staff have stepped up to assist our residents. It's funny how our roles have completely changed, but for the better. Even our executive director, she is phenomenal at knowing the rules and meeting with MDH and CDC and knowing what we need to do to make sure that we're always prepared for if we have an outbreak or if there's one person that does develop COVID. In fact, we developed this quarantine unit so that our residents who do develop COVID can stay in this unit, but yet still be socially engaged and active and not be quarantined to this tiny little room or a tiny little area of our campus. It's an actual, it's part of our wellness center that we created into our COVID unit and our quarantine unit. And the staff that have stepped up at first just said, I'm there, I want to help out. And all of us were scared because we didn't know COVID at the time and in the beginning. But anyway, my whole point to my being on here is we are so thankful for our staff and our community, and truly believe that humans are very kind at heart, and we all miss that human interaction. We've definitely found that in one another here at St. Therese and Woodbury. 2020 has taught us how to look deep within ourselves and how we can continue to make ourselves happy, our residents happy, not burn ourselves out. Our HR group is wonderful at providing resources for our employees to make sure that we keep doing what we're doing. We constantly are recognizing our employees from when they come in to be screened and to answer those same questions every day, rewarding them with just little treats or a little recognition that goes such a long way. It makes them want to do more, and myself included. When I'm praised, boy, I just want to do even more. So I'm going to end with our guiding behaviors here at St. Therese are welcoming one another, lending a hand, providing heartfelt purpose, valuing each individual, connecting through spirituality, spreading kindness and compassion. So I just want to say thank you to everybody out there who is working with our senior population. Continue to do what you're doing. Stay positive. Wear your PPE, wash your hands. I have to throw that in. But thank you for everybody what you're doing. It is just so meaningful to our seniors, how you replace their family members now because visits aren't happening. They know that, they see that, and they appreciate it so much. So thank you everyone for having me on here. It was absolutely wonderful to be able to share our positives for 2020 and what we look forward to in the upcoming year.
Hi, my name is Donika Schnell. I'm with Greystone and I'm now based in Denver. I moved from California during the pandemic, which is an interesting story of itself. I'm very honored to be part of this podcast and very humbled about the providers around me. I work for Greystone in the financial arm of the company. Greystone is a commercial real estate finance company. We actually also own and operate 4,000 beds, primarily in the eastern half of the country. So I'm humbled with the providers, the operators that do what you do every day, especially in this year. The things I'm grateful for seeing this year is the collaboration among providers in all our communities. To everybody who provides care to a patient, their families, we should be very grateful for, and we've seen them spotlighted this year. But the providers have owners because I work with CEOs and CFOs and owners of companies, I have seen an incredible collaboration for only the reason of providing safe care, to the patients in their facilities, but also for their staff. The concern I've seen owners have that the staff are protected, that they're cared for, that they don't burn out, and that they're, of course, paid adequately too, which is something I've seen providers reach out, nursing homes reach out to hospitals in their communities. They've reached out to county health supervisors to collaborate on how to care for the growing COVID population and to protect their staff and their patients or residents. Personally, I think this has been a great opportunity for me to spend time with the women in my network. I've been doing this for almost 30 years, and I realize that so many women, especially if they're working moms, were struggling with their kids at home, their husbands all of us at home, right? Trying to figure out how we're going to live under a roof and go to school and continue to work and provide for our families. So I spent a lot of time with other women. I've built a small network of women to make sure that that we could help each other, share ideas. I'm not talking about like recipes, but also how do we deal with our children that are stressed out? How do we remain relevant in our careers? A lot of us have worked a long time to build our careers, and it's not so easy to just walk away. So I think to remain relevant and to connect with our clients and with each other, and to continue to network business to each other. I've really appreciated spending time with these women who are around the country. And, it's kind of easier with Zoom now. Instead of having to get on a plane and trying to see a couple people here and there, I can ask 40 people to get on a call and or 20 or 10 and visit. So that's been really nice. And even when we're in our ball caps and our sweatpants and our t-shirts, so that's been a nice way to connect, a new way to connect. And I think this year, more than ever, I'm very, very grateful that I've had time to spend with my children. I was a single mom for a long time and spent a lot of time worrying, and I was the financial provider for 3 children, sole financial provider. So I was very, very focused on my career and being super successful. And this year, I've been fortunate to spend that time with my children, who are at ages that really needed their mom a lot. And I've learned a lot about them. We have a lot of fun times together. We play a lot of board games. We play a lot of video games. We talk a lot, do artwork. I see my kids doing artwork. It's been really nice it's beyond nice. It's the most rewarding time I've had this year is to spend it with my children. I know that will continue. And we've built memories that we'll have for years to come. So I want to thank everybody again in the medical profession. This has been a trying year. We have seen the strength and the resilience of our professionals and our healthcare systems. And I know there have been lots of dark moments for us individually or together. And I really hope that now with the vaccines that we have a path forward to a 2021. We should have an amazing decade, the one we thought we were starting a year ago. And I hope for blessings for everybody, good health, and just kindness and continued patience for each other. So happy holidays and happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Zeverino, Director of Business Development for Belmont Village Senior Living, and we are owners, operators, and developers of 31 senior living communities across the country, including one in Mexico City. And we just launched our first senior living community here in South Florida, and we're going to be opening several more around this immediate area. So we're really excited to come into the South Florida market, and we're predominantly in the California area, in Illinois, as well as Chicago. So that's where most of our communities are situated. But I relocated here from Los Angeles. I've been with Belmont Village over 10 years. And they had asked me if I was interested in coming here and branding us. So I'm excited to be here. And of course, the pandemic hit, and here we are. But You know, I think one of the things I wanted to really share is what the takeaways are from 2020. And the pandemic really reinforced that we humans are a very social breed. We thrive emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, and cognitively when we interact with one another. And we're fueled by, we're really fueled by people and interaction. And we're faced with and forced to shut down because of a pandemic, a global pandemic. We find new and innovative ways to stay connected. So, you know, some of the things that I noticed, which I absolutely love, was the creative ways to visit people, such as the drive-bys for birthdays and graduation and milestone events, balcony sing-alongs, the sounds of applause bellowing through the city that has over 8.7 million people clapping for the essential workers coming out of the hospitals in New York City, all the volunteerism, teledogs. My gosh, a company came up with a way to utilize therapy dogs for televisits. The innovation is just unbelievable. And there's so many things that I could keep going with, but for the sake of time, I won't. But for the senior living industry, we found creative ways to engage, as some of my fellow folks that were on here talked about. You know, we engaged and connect with our residents, almost replacing their families because of, you know, families not being able to come and visit them. So we really found ways to keep them safe and out of the grips of COVID in so many really creative ways. And, you know, one of our residents had moved in recently, and I loved what she had to say about her experience and the decision why she decided to move into Belmont Village. And I want to go ahead and read that to all of you because it's a sort of a recap of her thoughts. So forgive me for reading, but I'm going to. So our resident, Kay Allen, is a vibrant senior who maintained a very active lifestyle. But when the pandemic hit, Kay was quarantined in her own condominium and was not able to utilize any of the services that she became accustomed to using. She was no longer able to enjoy any outside activities such as going to the gym, the hair salon, going to the library, and attending social events. After learning about us, Kate decided to move in during the pandemic because it allowed her to have these same type of services and activities under one roof and within a safe environment with other like-minded individuals. Moving to a senior living environment allowed her to press play again on her life. Her days were filled with wonderful lectures, events, activities, all the things she wasn't able to do in her condo. And she was able to really enjoy her life here. As Kay frequently says about her decision to make the move, I have a lifestyle that I want to preserve, and Belmont Village, Fort Lauderdale affords me the opportunity to do so. So I really think that sums up why we're in why we do what we do, and to hear testimonials and reasons why seniors have decided to make these decisions coming in, and now so even more with the vaccine coming down the pipeline very soon. Residents feel safe. They feel like they're going to be the first to get the vaccine. And we, you know, we really want to just do our best to keep it going and chugging away. So, you know, that was my takeaway for 2020. And I think the other part was, what am I going to bring in 2021? And I think for me personally, it's going to be a lot of humility, a lot of patience, and just a lot of hope. And I just reward and applaud all of us in the senior living industry and just caring for seniors, whether you're home health, home care, hospice, just every area of the entity of the senior older population industry. So I just want to say thank you for having me on, and 2021, hope and patience. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Aaron Blythe. I'm the founder of Caregiving Kinetics and the author of When Caregiving Calls, Guidance as You Care for a Parent, Spouse, or Aging Relative. I'm really grateful to be on here today to share a couple of thoughts with you. And as I think about 2021, I think about a workshop that I was scheduled to give in the spring. It was supposed to be an in-person workshop for family caregivers. And when COVID hit, it got moved to June. And then as June approached, the workshop got moved to September. And it was supposed to be an in-person workshop in September, but eventually it became a virtual workshop. And the sponsoring organization had never done a virtual workshop before, and nor had I. I was a little bit skeptical, a little bit uncertain as to how this was going to play out. But we went ahead and we had this virtual event. And I have to tell you that it was incredibly insightful and uplifting and rewarding and illuminating. The family caregivers that participated were fully engaged. We had broad participation. In fact, I'm thankful for being able to figure out how to do virtual workshops for family caregivers because, you know, it's not necessarily easy for a family caregiver to leave their loved one and to go and to another location and learn about caregiving. But with virtual workshops, they can do this from the comfort of their home. They don't have to leave their loved one. And it's amazing how with technology, we can connect. We can do things like this today. I'm very grateful for the technology that we have that allows us to meet together, even though we're physically separate. And as I think about 2020, I'm also really thankful that our collective consciousness about caregiving has increased across the world. The needs of care receivers and caregivers have been brought to the forefront of our minds. Those who maybe didn't have caregiving roles in the past find themselves more in the caregiving role today and are learning how to be better caregivers. I'm also grateful, I think, that the value and the importance of older adults has been highlighted through the COVID-19 pandemic. I think we're more grateful for our loved ones, more aware of their needs, and more willing to meet those needs. Our love of family and our appreciation for family has grown. So I'm thankful for all of these things in 2020. It's been a very trying year, but it's also been a rewarding year. And I want to thank all of the healthcare professionals, all of the essential workers out there. I'm thankful for you, whether you're a grocery store clerk or a physician or a direct care aide at a long-term care facility. Without you, we wouldn't be where we are today. So thank you. And thanks again for having me today. Looking forward to 2021. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Ravi Bala, and I work and I've specialized in aging technologies for almost a decade now. I'm located in Philadelphia, and I am incredibly thankful. Let me just back up a little bit. When this whole COVID thing started in the March timeframe, my wife and son are both in medicine, and so the biggest fear was that we would have the disease invade our home, sooner or later. And at that time, the hope was, let's just put it off till May, June, July timeframe when they'll at least know how to treat. It wasn't a matter of if we're going to get the disease; it was when. And I'm thankful that we're now in December and everybody's been disease-free. And it's an incredible relief, a personal relief to be here. And I'm just hoping that between now and the next Thanksgiving, we have the ability to host a fantastic, huge Thanksgiving dinner and gathering at home. And that's my hope for next year. The other thing I'll tell you is, as far as 2020 is concerned, this year's been incredible for knowledge acquisition. I've been able to go through probably a dozen virtual conferences that I would not have had the ability to attend, and listen to phenomenal speakers, and see the amazing innovation that is being sponsored across the industry in senior living. The use of technology that used to be something that we wonder in terms of, are seniors going to be able to use technology? Is technology going to propagate across the industry? We're now starting to see that become ubiquitous and assume that we're going to use technology. And I am just incredibly excited to see what that brings in terms of 2021 and beyond, in terms of what kind of services we're going to bring for seniors, particularly those that are aging at home. I'm just incredibly grateful again at this point for all of my family and friends at this point to be healthy, and to see that we have a vaccine that is going to make life more normal over the course of the next 2 quarters. And looking forward to great celebrations in 2021. Thank you.
What's going on? Happy Thursday, everyone. Hey, it's Michael Holtzclaw. Hope you're having an awesome day. I did not plan on doing this from my car, but I got stuck spreading Christmas joy and Christmas gift to communities today here in Greenville, South Carolina. So you get me from the car. I'm enjoying hearing all the things that everyone is thankful for, and mine will be more unhinged probably. You just get me raw usually. So, hey, my list of things that I am thankful for in 2020 would probably take longer than the time that we get on this call or this show. But first of all, I'm thankful for this. What that means is I am so thankful for the role that I play. I'm thankful that I have a job, not only as I've been in senior living 20 years now, and not only as a pharmacy vendor, but so many other positions. But as a pharmacy vendor, not only did we get busier, we have been able to truly make such a difference in the lives of the people that depend on our medication from a long-term care pharmacy. So I'm so thankful for that. I know lots of people lost their sources of income. And again, I'm thankful for my team for making it work and for the business that we've been able to acquire. Secondly, I am so thankful. I'm in and out of probably 5 communities a week. And prior to COVID, I don't know that we understood this as operators, as owners, as management companies. But now, post-COVID, I am so thankful that we have now understood the importance of the frontline staff. I know for years they have been overlooked, underappreciated, and I see such a monumental shift. It's almost a Renaissance effect of how we have now discovered, like it was magic, how important those frontline staff are, be it the CNAs, the med techs, even the people in the dining room, even down to the housekeepers. I am so thankful for that, because I've long known how you cannot run a building without frontline staff. And so I'm so thankful that they're going to get the attention that they deserve as we move forward. The third thing, it might sound kind of cheesy, man, I am thankful for technology. The webinars we've been able to attend. I'm thankful for Netflix. Can you imagine going through this pandemic without some source of streaming, whether it's Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever it is you use? I am thankful for that. I know I've been able to catch up on some reading as we've all just transitioned. You know what? And the last thing I'm going to say, I am so thankful for just the senior living community as a whole across the country. Again, I came from the owner-operator side, and now being that I'm a vendor, I get to see so many things from a different lens. And the way that this industry has come together, I see the competition dissolving, and we're no longer competing with the individual or the community across the street. We're figuring out how to join together. How can we complement each other? How can we work together to really do what this industry was created to do, and that is to take care of the people who leave their care into our responsibility. And I think that is true for owner operators, vendors, whatever you do in senior living, hospice, home health, medical supplies. It doesn't matter. We all should have one focused goal, and that is to take care of the people that leave their lives into our hands. Thanks for having me on here today. Hope you guys be blessed and have a Merry Christmas.
I'm Michelle Olson. I am a gerontologist and care manager with Clear Guidance, and I'm also the founder and executive director of a new not-for-profit. So when I reflected on Han's question about positives of 2020, there really are a lot of them. And the first one I think I want to say, slow down, has been hugely important for all of us, for our health. So while on one hand, in the beginning, getting enough done, but on the other hand, slowing down has benefited our health. Never before have I seen hiking trails so crowded and new hobbies. Like just in this pandemic alone, I took a drumming class and I started a Tai Chi class online. So being able to do things, being forced to slow down and do things that we love is really important. And just this morning, now, I don't even remember the last time I went sledding, but I was sledding not with my children from 30 to 78 years old. We went sledding. So through technology, water. We don't have to drive to an office. We don't have to sit in, cubicle anymore. We don't have to do that. We are so capable to do things through technology and to connect with one another that way. One of the biggest things that I appreciate and I'm grateful for is something that I miss, and that is touching and holding hands. And I think that the elders in elder care and long-term care, we see this. They've been, now we feel it. We understand what that's like, that human connection that we all need. So I would say that is the one thing that I'm most grateful for, is that I, more than ever, am more grateful for human connection and something that we all need. And I do believe that the care that we provide in elder care is going to change. It's never going to be the same. And I think that's a good thing. We're going to, staffing is going to change. There's going to be more room, shared rooms and bathrooms. So these are good things. We're getting back and just connect with one another on a human level. So overall, wrapping it up, I think more empathy, that is what I see as the positives of COVID-19 in 2020. So a very Merry Christmas and some time outdoors or doing things that you love to do. And that's it. Enjoy holidays. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Han for having me on. I am very blessed and thankful for this year, for the team that we've built and that we have around us. I mean, it's been a challenging year for a lot of us in aging services, and I'm thankful for the frontline people we have. We have amazing staff. We have wonderful families that we get to interact with. I'm very thankful for our ability to stay connected to our families through our staff and having the connections maintain as best we can in these trying times. And we've really pushed the envelope on being creative and how we can better, solve some challenges moving forward. And another thing I'm super thankful for is disruption. I really feel we are at an incredible disruption in how aging services are going to be offered. I believe that we are at the point where we're hearing the voices of our older adults and are going to begin to adapt to what aging can be for them as individuals, a lot like what Michelle just said. I'm really thankful for the things that we've learned what we can really do when we're faced with a challenge and still meet the quality of care, the engagement, the love, the connection that we need to have for our residents and our older adults. I'm truly blessed for my family, who puts up with a lot of the work that I do, the long days, sometimes the unique calls at all hours, things like that. I'm thankful for my wife and my 3 kids, where we just had a third child here in October, and all the support that they give me when what we're trying to do is really help in our older adults age how they want to age. And then I'm thankful for being able to do the things that we love and give that power to our residents. And that's what really matters, is making sure we are empowering our residents to be who they want to be, no matter where they are, no matter where they are living, no matter how old they are, no matter what they want to do. And so I'm thankful for us being able to meet those needs of our residents and our families. And my hope for 2021 is we only continue to improve. We take the lessons we've learned from 2020 and begin to expand upon that through technology, through integration, through how we engage, just keep learning and keep pushing ourselves to be better. So Han, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm truly thankful for you and what you do with your messaging, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Well, everybody, thank you, Han, for this opportunity to share positive vibes. And for 2020, it's been very hard for many of us, and especially the senior living industry. Have had numerous conversations with a lot of colleagues from different organizations, and the stress level is
Nestor, can we
very high
pause
for
you?
everybody. That I can say that it's been very positive is the human spirit, the human heart. I think early in the state of everything that occurred, people people that were not in the industry were reaching out and asking to see what they can do to help and support our communities, from computer engineers to firemen to local grocery stores. I remember shopping in early stages, like everybody else, trying to get all the supplies needed for our community. And people saw my badge in line and said, "Where do you work?" I said, "It's seniors," and they basically, they wanted to give us money to be able to help buy more additional stuff for us. And so that was amazing to be able to see that strangers would be willing to do that, not really knowing our residents. And so that was amazing to see. It really touched my heart. It gave me a new perspective this year on also what it means to be distantly away from your family, and our residents really experienced that, and we became their families. So I hope that we take 2020 and be able to shelf it and start 2021 in a positive note with the vaccinations and everything that's going on. But on a positive note, learn a lot about myself and about the industry and how much we do, what we do, and why we do it, and the true heroes that are out there. Just ask for blessings for them. I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and thank you, Hanh, again, for having this platform here for positive vibes for 2021. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Tharp with Summerby Mount Pleasant. And Han, I want to say thank you to you for the opportunity. And more than the opportunity, I want to say thank you for the vision that you have to supply this forum. Thank you very much. It was interesting when you had asked me to present on this subject, the silver linings that we've experienced just this past weekend, because I'm kind of prone to reflection on the weekends. I use that as a time to kind of download and process what happened the past week and look forward to the coming week. It occurred to me that 2020 has been an ophthalmologist for myself, and I think for a lot of us. And it has come along and kind of wreaked chaos in our lives. I know March 13th here, we went into a shutdown mode and just tried to kind of raise a defense against what we saw coming. And thankfully to date, we've not had any COVID on our campus. But it caused us to kind of shut things out and focus on what was on the inside. And as I begin to think about the 2020 and correcting our vision, I was inspired to look at different areas of life and of our work that have been affected. And as I began to refocus, one of the first things I thought about was the sense of vulnerability that so many expressed to me that they had. It was a disruption to our norm. And so what do we do with this vulnerability? But that vulnerability, I found, kind of brought a closeness, and even if I could use the word intimacy, where we were no longer as interdependent and as independent, and we became more interdependent. So I viewed that as a good thing. It was kind of interesting. We could no longer read facial expressions. We just had to read eyes. And on a personal level, my wife and I discovered that no longer could we go out to eat and experience all of those things. It forced us to cook at home. It forced us to kind of focus on each other. And that was a real silver lining, because it was a fresh rediscovery and refocus on our relationship. It was a refocus on spirituality. I think vulnerability brings that. And so I was really just thankful for the challenges that have been brought. We certainly are saddened by the losses that so many have incurred, but we want to focus on the good things and the refocus. And finally, there's one aspect of it that I thought about, and that is foresight. And never again will I get down to one roll of toilet paper in the house. Won't happen again. I'm not going to clean out a whole shelf, but never again will I just have one roll of toilet paper in the house. Thank you, Han. I sure appreciate the opportunity to address about silver linings, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.
Oh. Okay.
You're live, Destry.
Oh, hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Great. I'm Destry. I'm an investment advisor in the morning anyways. In the afternoon, I manage senior housing funds. We provide equity to senior housing developers so that they can get their construction loans. We're just working with a couple of developers at the moment, one in the Northwest and one that we've had a great deal of success with building primarily in the Southwest. We're in states like Arizona, New Mexico, Utah. So I'm really thankful to Han for making this happen today. It's interesting learning about all the different aspects of seniors living. You've all brought up some really interesting things to be thankful for and to take forward into 2021. I think it's because of the pandemic that I met Han. Like many of you out there, I've had plenty of time working from my home office and more or less goofing around on the computer, trying to learn things that I didn't know before and trying to get familiar with social media like LinkedIn. Working from home with very little physical interaction has been an experience for me too. Boy, do I have a lot to learn about technology. So thanks, Han, for sponsoring this event and helping to bring me into the digital world. I am learning from this pandemic, and I want to take something from it. Putting my investment advisor hat on, I have to say that we have some big challenge, it seems like every 10 years. In the early 90s, we had a healthcare or pharmaceutical crash when the Clintons came into the White House. At the end of that decade, we had the dot-com bust, and all of these things create problems for lots of different industries and operators. 10 years later, we had the housing debacle that affected all of us significantly. So yeah, something devastating to somebody pops up on a more regular basis than it might seem. You think we'd learn by now. What I want to learn from 2020 is to get a better understanding of the challenges that our senior housing operators and developers have as they try and navigate this healthcare pandemic so that I might make better investment decisions for our capital providers in the years to come. I found it extraordinary this year when the market dropped and then came back to all-time new highs, all in the same calendar year. But we know this is primarily due to the Fed's commitment to provide as much capital to the markets as necessary, or to the economy, to keep things afloat. Amazingly, it hasn't caused inflation. Interest rates remain at all-time lows. That much fuel on the fire would generally cause large amounts of inflation, but it hasn't, and we have to wonder why. I think it's the productivity that technology's created for all of us. I heard Mr. Wonderful on CNBC's Shark Tank last week put it, I think, most eloquently in that these days he has hundreds of Zoom meetings every week. And while the Zoom meetings aren't as productive as a face-to-face meeting, where you can really read a person, prior to his use of Zoom, he was only having a few dozen meetings a week. So we're all getting a lot more done, a lot more efficiently, a lot less expensively, and hopefully our senior housing operators can take advantage of that. All of the communities that we have investments in, I follow on social media now, the Facebook and LinkedIn and such. And I see that they are doing really great things as far as being able to communicate, if only digitally, between the loved ones and their families. So that's really neat. So this kind of productivity can continue to leave us with very low interest rates. And that creates an interesting situation for our developers. What I'm hearing from the lenders, those who provide the construction financing to our developers, is that they're very anxious to make investments, but only with proven developers, people who they've had positive experiences with in the past, or people that they know that can see a pro forma through and complete their construction budget effectively. That means that something like only 1 out of 3 of our entities that were developing senior housing properties a few years ago are actually getting financing today. But they're getting that financing at really good rates, extraordinarily low rates. It really is incredible versus what we were doing just 5 or 6 years ago. And ultimately, I think that's going to lead to lower supply of communities and higher occupancy rates, much higher occupancy rates, at least for a few years until competition and supply and other lending institutions catch up and want to get into the industry. So yeah, I've learned a lot from 2020. Hope to make better, more informed investment decisions going forward. And again, I appreciate you all for being a part of this event today, and thanks, Hanh.
Hello, am I on? Huh?
You are live, sir.
Hello. Yes, my name is Stel Valavanis, and I've been interviewed by Hanh before, so some of you may be familiar with me, assuming a overlap in audience. And I'm asked to tell you some of the good things that I saw happen or lessons learned from 2020. And right away, the obvious one is the work from home has pushed along and accelerated the digital transformation that we've seen already happening with communications. And remember, technology doesn't just need to work well, it needs to be ubiquitously available. So by forcing everybody to go ahead and use it, all these people who hadn't for the first time have, and now you could just assume that somebody does have internet access and a webcam, if not at least audio, and be able to do these kinds of meetings. I think it actually, enhances social life to some extent. Think about all the isolated people in senior living facilities that were just mentioned before. I mean, they've been isolated even before the quarantine, and more so now with the quarantine. And they have now access to a lot of other people. I have a relative overseas that maybe there'd be a call or an email periodically, but now we do a joint video call and laugh a lot and whatnot. And I hope that continues in the future. And so when we do get to have physical interactions, that's it's even better. But we're going to enhance it with all these virtual interactions. Business meetings, sure, we can have more of them and not have to get on a plane and whatnot. But they also provide for all kinds of collaboration. I have my team in business meetings chatting each other, preparing documents, taking comments, asking somebody to prepare something or go research something, all while the meeting with the client is happening. So there's some really good things that come out of this shift in adoption of technology. Another big one to me is more collective thinking. When we cut together on a pandemic and we have the government putting in, our case here, amazingly trillions of dollars with barely a blink from even very fiscal conservatives, because they get that at the end of the day, we're in the boat together. Even with, free market, independent type thinking, we realize that there are many, many things in the world that we have to do collectively. I hope that shifts over to addressing climate change. I hope that shifts to addressing healthcare. I hope we get a single payer, for instance, going with the Biden administration in. These are things that, I don't think could have happened, or at least not yet to happen, without the acceleration that the pandemic provided. But 2020 is not only a year of the pandemic. 2020 is a year of political unrest and whatnot. And hopefully we learn lessons from that and say to ourselves, what is going on in our world? What are the things that we're doing right and wrong? What are people upset about? And let's work together and address these things. And I think there's a greater sense of that. And sometimes that's what it takes. So there truly are very positive things happening, despite all the negative things that are happening, and lessons that have been learned with all the positive and negative. So I'm optimistic about the future. I think that not only the things we've learned, but the strength that we have as a country and as a whole global society, that we will find ways to work together and solve problems. That we will develop technology that brings us together and makes it more conducive to peace and prosperity, makes our lives fit well with peace and prosperity. And I think the quality of life, whereas it's diminished in some ways, is actually improved in other ways. With all the change that's gone on. And so I really am optimistic. I think 2021 is going to see new ways to have the economy work and globally and develop, even in the context of the quarantine, and as we come out of it, be even stronger. Those that have been hurt by it more directly, unfortunately there was a price to pay. But at the same time, I do believe that we'll help each other, and that they will end up being a very powerful part of our economy going forward. I'm referring to on the ground retail, hospitality, travel that has been massively impacted by the changes we see. Well, that's what I have to say.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Roger Landry, and I'm a preventive medicine physician. And my view of senior living has to do with the health and welfare of the residents. Senior is just a production. And those are getting thank you enough we track data on residents in our communities that we partner with. We've tracked 600, over 600 before and after, before and during COVID. And what we're seeing that the variables that pertain to resilience are staying the same. Most of our residents are in IL, quite a few in AL, but those two dominate our data. But I think that's good news for senior living. The journalists seem to be focusing on the process. It's there, but it's certainly a focus on the good things happening. And I want to talk about some more good things happening. Normally when I speak to residents and presentations, I kind of have to talk about things like that are important, like social connection and resilience and mindfulness in the abstract. Some of them know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's still somewhat of an abstract. This COVID has acted like a lens, and it has focused our attention on the, and not only for residents and senior living, but all of us, because we are seeing things in a different light, because we're all experiencing. In fact, we're experiencing what many consider to be the normal challenges of the aging brain. We're all experiencing it in a very short way. So the good news is that I'm not going to have to, when I go out and what I'm doing now, basically, have to talk in the abstraction, because it's been a vivid experience of how important resilience is, how important social connection is, and how important mindfulness is. Just to pick three, there are many, but those three in particular have been put in this spot. And that makes things a whole lot easier, and I think there'll be an appreciation. Also, this experience with our residents has, we used to talk about volunteerism, and many would, and the fact that it was good for you, that they were very clear, that you think there was in a better way when you volunteer. And this experience, this pandemic, has motivated many residents to feel engaged, to do things that they would not have otherwise done. A few examples of, we have a gentleman who was actually on a ship that was bombed and nearly sunk in World War II, and he survived and went out and died. And he's had a lot of PTSD over the many years and trying to find his purpose. So during this time, he became a therapist and did help people. During this time, in his community, he decided he was going to give over the TV with some classes in therapy. And he did a survey about how people were struggling, and from that survey, he developed actually private discussions with help them through this. We've had people living in scarf, homeless, and just engaged. And I think the last point I want to make is, with ageism around, we've had it's an uphill battle for people to see the great amount of human capital that is in the business, and particularly in senior living, but we're both doing. And the greatest generation is called the greatest because they went through things like this and survive, and they have resilience. And so from them, we're learning lessons. And from them, we have a new appreciation for our culture, just the way it had been before the Industrial Revolution, before we began to marginalize our age. And so that recognition that the human capital here is experience, is guidance, and people who know how to take life hits like this and who turn lemons into lemons. So the good news is the data, some of the data that we're seeing is very positive about doing in senior living and how that has helped people. Actually, they feel they're in a better place. We're having people understand in a very vivid, visceral way how important social is, how important resilience is to get the lifestyle. become nonsense. Let your mind run crazy and catastrophize and create stress and those situations. So people are experiencing that, they know it, and we're seeing the value of our life. And I appreciate this opportunity to get this word out because there's a lot of good stuff.
Hello, Joe. You're live.
Excellent. Han, first off, thank you very much for inviting me to come on. There's a lot to be thankful for. First, as I'm sitting here, I'm thankful to be in San Diego. I don't know where many of you are, but I was born and raised in this beautiful town. My family comes from a long line of commercial fishermen. Been great, and it's a great place to be. The sun's out, and so I'm grateful and thankful first off to be here. The second thing I'm really thankful for this year has been technology. The investment in technology has paid off in spades here for our company. I am the CFO of a large privately owned owner-operator of multifamily properties of about 22,000 people. Like everybody else, when things shut down, we had to go for a remote working environment. And I'm thankful that all the technology that we have been putting in over the last 4 to 5 years in the cloud and everything that we've done has paid off. Our jobs that we never thought would be good for remote working turned out to do well. In my purview, overseeing the accounting department, with 80 properties, we didn't miss a heartbeat. The accountants got their computers, went online and got everything done. We didn't miss a deadline. We didn't miss a financial statement. We didn't miss a distribution payment to our 1,200 investors. And so technology is great. Something I'm grateful for that we spent the money on and did well. The next thing I'm thankful for is teams. I'm trying to do using a T theme here, but teams, our senior managers and the staff. I mean, our senior managers, we have a great team over here, and we had to step up like many of you, I'm sure everybody did, but just how things change. And here in California, especially when we have every week, it seems like the governor is changing the rules of the game. And, whether it's more eviction moratoriums, whether it's closing down schools, whatever the case may be, the teams had to come together. The senior management had to come and change things on a weekly basis. But everybody stepped up, and the staff, same thing with regard to knowing that they had to get their job done, had to set the goals a little bit different, had to keep communicating on a weekly basis through technology, but got it all done. So I'm thankful for that. The other thing I'm thankful for, Han, is teaching. I had the good fortune to be asked to teach to graduating seniors a commercial real estate finance and at the University of San Diego. And I don't know any other time that would have been difficult to come in and teach a class to college seniors than this year. But I think I had the benefit of bringing in a number of speakers through Zoom. I had the benefit of Han was one, and be able to interject some reality to what the students went through. As somebody who's got gray hair and been in the business a long time, you can let them know that everything's going to be okay, that we will get through this. It's going to take time. There's going to be some pain, but in the end, we will get through it. Jobs will come back for the seniors that were graduating. They'll get their chance, and they're just going to have to work hard. They're going to have to be attentive, be persistent, and they will get through it. And so I think over the course, I am thankful that I got to teach a class during the pandemic and be able to help students realize that somebody has gone through this before, whether it was you name the time and you name the recession, but it'll go away and we'll live to play another day. The other thing I'm thankful for, tenants. We have 21,000 apartment units, and I can tell you, sure, we have tenants that haven't paid, and it makes delinquencies a little bit worse. But on the whole, when you look at on the average, we're on the West Coast in Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona, Nevada. People made every effort they can to pay. I mean, we've had very little by way of skips and people that just are non-communicative, but most people want to communicate. They want to tell you why they can't pay. They want to tell you how they're going to try to pay. And tenants are just, for the most part, people bound and determined to make good on their word. They have a contract and they want to abide by it, and they want you to help them in any way you can, and be able to help them, live in their apartment and make their payments and work with them as best you can. So I want to thank the tenants. And the last thing is, I want to thank for my family, the family, right? It's I'm fortunate enough to have everybody here in San Diego, kids, granddaughter, and the rest of my family. And so it makes it for, at least when you're going through a pandemic, though you may not, I haven't kissed my mom since March, but at least she knows I'm around. I can run over there in case of she needs anything. I've got a couple of sisters that are also around. So although we aren't spending Sundays like we used to together for a Sunday dinner every week, we do get a chance to, just make quick visits, make sure we all are being with my mom on social distancing, but still we're all together in the same city, and I'm thankful for that. So with that said, I want to wish everybody, I'm old Catholic high school, all boys school, so I'm going to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody, and a Happy New Year, and hope to see you again on the other side of the pandemic, 2021. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Todd Andrews. I'm the president of Asbury Community CCRC division. We operate 8 CCRCs in 3 states on the East Coast, including Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Tennessee. And today, the positive things I'd like to share really have to do with the way our employees and our residents and communities came together, not only to very quickly change at the beginning of the pandemic, but to work through any and all issues that have come up. Daily in the long-term care business, you get guidance that changes the equation from what we thought it was yesterday to what it is today, and it'll probably be different again tomorrow. And we've had the most fascinating evolution of our team's ability to change. I would dare to say most people have had times in their career where they felt change was difficult and it was hard to get people to see things differently and not do what they've always done. This pandemic has really helped us change that dynamic, where our teams across the country have figured out how to change and turn on a dime. Many people today have leveraging technology has been something that's been a positive. I can remember technology transformations that we've done over the last several years that were, for lack of a better way of saying it, could be a bit painful and a bit slow. And this pandemic has driven people to accept change and engage in change very quickly, and then stick to it until they figure it out. Who would have thought that a year ago or 2 years ago that we could manage business in a very personal type way remotely, using Zoom and all the other platforms that are out there. It's been a fantastic evolution for that. One of the other things I touch on is innovative ideas that have come up to help us and help our residents be able to continue to live quality lives no matter what level of care that they're in. Very early on in the pandemic, we discovered a community in the Midwest that was building what they called a hugging station. So families could still come in and have personal contact with their, mothers and fathers without actually touching each other, and very quickly put together a platform for our teams to be able to build these so that the families could come in and spend time with their loved ones and actually hug each other through a very thin barrier, but enough of a barrier to keep people separate. I would say also from a technology perspective, the way you manage your inventory, the way you order and secure your personal protective equipment has changed and moved very quickly. One of the most important staff members on our team, on our corporate team, is our director of supply management, and how he worked tirelessly to get us PPE when other people really couldn't get it. And then finally, I would just say the trust that employees have in the leadership within our communities has definitely enhanced. There hasn't been a real challenge for us in making change, but there also hasn't been a challenge in people trusting one another, maybe to a lot higher degree than they used to. So those are the things that we've seen, in kind of the life plan community setting. There's been so many great relationships built, people working tirelessly, 12 hours a day, side by side, 7 days a week to keep residents safe. We've had our share of challenges from COVID-19, but, all in all, I would say we've had just as many successes as we've had challenges, and really appreciate that. And, the final one that I'll touch on is, the opportunity that a vaccine may bring to help us return to normal. All things willing and God willing, help us get, on the other side of this pandemic. So I'm very thankful for that. And, being in long-term care, we're already lined up for our communities to start being able to have our residents and staff members vaccinated here in the next week. Actually, we've got a couple of communities that are in the queue day after Christmas. So we're very thankful for that. So I thank you for the opportunity to share these things, and hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season and a speedy end to this terrible pandemic, and getting back to a little bit of normalcy that guaranteed will be different than it was at this time last year. Thank you.
Hey, what's going on? Happy 2020, end of 2020. Thank you for having me. Nick Merritt, Grove medical supply sales. So as you can imagine, this year has been quite interesting. Like Michael Holtzclaw, I'm a little unhinged and unconventional, but I'm wearing my Clemson shirt, jacket, if you will. Joe from San Diego said the weather was quite nice out there. I'm sure he is very thankful for that. Here in South Carolina, it's a little bit chilly, only about 50 degrees, but we're looking forward to the football game this weekend. But again, thankful for being on here, and thankful for everybody that's on here listening to us. It's just been a incredible year, but one of the things that I've always lived by, and as I sit in my car, it makes it even more realistic. I was planning on sitting in an office and doing this, and like Michael, I got caught up seeing clients and seeing customers, which I'm very thankful for. But the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror for a reason. You got to see where you're going, but you also got to remember what's behind you. And so as we move forward through this, I'm thankful for all my facilities, all my hospices, my home health, my nursing homes, my DMEs, everybody for being patient with us as we try to figure out all the PPE issues, as we try to get you your supplies in a timely manner. I just can't tell y'all how much I appreciate it. And that would be what I was most thankful for during this year, is building those and strengthening those relationships. My dad, who is my mentor, who grew up in the long-term care industry as well, has always told me, don't tell anyone no until you've exhausted every resource. So during this time, that's been challenging, as we all know. So as somebody calls me and they, especially back in March, April, May, when masks couldn't be found, gowns couldn't be found, this couldn't be found, it was one of those things that it was like, whew, where am I going to find this? I don't know. Get up at 3:30 in the morning, do Zoom calls with China, do Zoom calls with Thailand, Malaysia, do whatever you could. Call friends, call anybody that you knew in the industry and say, hey, I've got somebody in need. Because at the end of the day, the healthcare workers are out there on the front line, and I love you all. I respect you all. I'm proud of you all. And you'll never know how much respect you have from the Grove Medical family and myself. But the other thing I'm thankful for is being back in the field now, getting to see some of my favorite people, getting to see some of my clients, getting to see, I can't wait to get back in and see the residents. That's who I really want to see, because I love walking in that building and they remember you and they want to give you a hug and they want to talk to you. Their families want to see them. We want to see them. So let's just continue our path and continue into 2021. Let's stay steadfast in providing everything for these people. I appreciate everybody. I've been on this call since early. I've been listening to every one of you. I appreciate every one of you. I'm thankful to be on here. And on a personal level, the one thing that I've enjoyed more than anything is I travel so much. I've got to spend more time with my kids. I've got 3 kids, 17, 14, and 11. And I've gotten to stay home with them. I've gotten to do more coaching. I've gotten to, just really have one-on-one time with them, which is something that you don't get very often when you're doing what I do. But so I'm thankful for that. But at the end of the day, I'm thankful for all of y'all. And I just stay steadfast, keep it up, and let's rock on. Let's roll into 2021 and let's kick COVID's butt. How about that?
Hi, everybody. I hope you hear me okay. My name is Jake Rothstein. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Upside Home based here in South Florida. And we are the first and only fully managed shared living option for independent older adults. And we're sort of at the beginning of the care continuum, prior to our residents needing independent and assisted living. And we have a lot to be thankful for. I think there's a number of things, 3 things I'd like to really highlight. The number one is the acceleration of technology adoption among older adults. It's been really exciting for us to witness that. I think that there was a lot of people that thought older adults are slow to adopt new technology and to understand it and to utilize it. And COVID has sort of accelerated that trend, and I think it's going to benefit all of us in our interaction with older adults and with older adults themselves as they age and getting access to better services and more services that they might need as they age. The second thing I wanted to say is that COVID has obviously shown a light on a lot of the challenges facing the industry as a whole, social isolation in particular, and the fact that there's so many people have come to the table with innovate, and I've heard this from a few people already just listening for the last hour. The amount of innovation coming into the space is really, really encouraging and really, really exciting. And I think that we have a lot to be thankful for the people that have put everything on the line to take risks to help this generation, to help the older adults of today get through this really challenging time, which has been challenging for all of us. And the third thing that we've witnessed, and it's been also really exciting, is this Medicare Advantage landscape changing, and this focus on social determinants of health and how it affects 80% of outcomes. And I think that we're going to see going into 2021, and a really positive thing that's coming out of all of this is a better allocation of funds to support really wellness and well-being and longevity before things become problematic, before people get sick and have to be treated in the hospital setting, sort of movement away from a fee-for-service traditional model and towards a more holistic approach to caring for people. That is really exciting to us. We've seen a lot of growth in that area in our business and in businesses that we work with, and it's great for the end user, for our residents, and for the people that we work with. So we're really excited about 2021. We're really excited about ending 2020, but we're also really thankful for a lot of the lessons that we learned and a lot of the good things that have come out of it. So really appreciate you inviting me to this, and to everyone, have a happy and healthy new year, and to a very successful and happy and healthy 2021 and beyond.
Greetings all. Blair Quasnitschka. I'm the executive director at Evergreen Woods, part of Senior Living Communities out of Charlotte. Thank you very much, Han, for giving us the opportunity to talk here and express what has gone well in 2020 and what we're thankful for. I think I'll start there with the theme of my message would be communication. And Han in particular has given us a platform to communicate this, to tell our story. I participated in a podcast earlier this year and really just appreciate the idea behind promoting senior living reducing those stigmas that exist around it, and being able to tell the story from the perspective of provider and our residents and families. So it's just a great platform. So I appreciate that. Also, communication, mass communication, the ability to speak to our families and our residents and our staff. Communication proved to be one of the biggest factors in delivering peace of mind. We had to keep a lot of people at bay during the pandemic physically, and with that comes question and uncertainty. But we've discovered platforms that have allowed us to reach these stakeholders all at once, seamlessly, clearly, where we could communicate what our strategies are, updates, what we're doing within our community's bubble, so to speak. But then the son, daughter will have peace of mind that's thousands of miles away that could say, okay, I know what's going on with mom and dad. Or the staff member that is concerned with, well, is my company doing things safely enough that I feel safe to come to work? We're able to communicate those things seamlessly to our stakeholders, which was critical to achieve peace of mind. People have mentioned the idea of creativity and to communicate in ways where we could reach a lot of people, but at a safe distance. We did a lot with virtual entertainment, a lot with putting wellness classes that were online or virtually streamed, that our residents could still feel engaged, still participate and keep wellness at the forefront, but do it safely. And the last thing I'll touch on is how communication back to us from residents, from families, from associations that we belong to, from our vendors who have been just significant in keeping our operation train on the tracks. But the communication we got from them and how appreciative they were of our efforts and praising our team members, that went so far in inspiring us and motivating us and keeping us up when spirits could easily be down. So I want to extend my appreciation for those words and all the support. And a lot came down to communication this past year, and a lot hinged on it, and it was proved to be very successful, the different platforms we had. So thank you and stay safe.
Hello, I'm Steve Lafort. I am Director of Corporate Affairs for Cascadia Healthcare, an Idaho-based skilled nursing provider. We have 18 buildings in Idaho and 1 in Montana, 1 in Oregon, 1 in Washington, and we are soon to expand into Arizona. And just want to say thank you to Han for creating this platform. I was privileged enough to be able to do a podcast earlier this year, and it's great to have a platform to get our message out. And I also want to say thank you for the people who spoke before me. It's great to hear similar messages, and it's great to hear what you're all doing out there, because I know we're all in this same battle together, and it has been a crazy year. Looking back at it and looking back to a year ago before all this started, it's funny to think, if somebody asked me, what are the 3 things that you would be most concerned about in the industry? And it'd be staffing, regulatory, and reimbursement. And COVID has really put all of those concerns onto steroids. And it just exacerbated all of the tension points that we already had. And so it's been quite a roller coaster of a year. That said, as we look back and we look forward at the same time, we're thankful for the experience that the positive experiences we've been able to have. Seeing our staff come together and coalesce in a time of a national pandemic, an emergency, when they're on the front lines and either they're not paid as well as they should be for the work that they do, the important work and the care that they give, and to have the public be able to recognize them as the heroes that they are is gratifying. And, hopefully that's a step in changing our image in the public. But it's been really, as tough as it's been and as much of a slog, the ability to come together as teams and just support each other has been just especially gratifying. Extending that, the ability that we've had and the opportunity that's been created to work more closely with our partners across the continuum of care, work with the hospitals, work with assisted living, work with our health and welfare departments, our licensing and cert bureaus to create solutions where you're up against the wall. Even now, I was on call. I've been on calls pretty much every day this week with where representatives of the two major hospitals in Idaho are on the calls. Our mayors of the largest cities are on the call. And how do we create access when the emergency rooms are overflowing, when the hospital beds are overflowing? And we're coming up with solutions and skilled operators who aren't always looked at in the way hospitals are looked at. I think the communities are reaching out to us more and understanding the importance of the work that we're doing. To mirror what somebody else said about technology, I'm grateful for the opportunity that the waivers have given us to put telehealth into place on a more expansive basis. And that's something I look forward to 2021, where that's going to change what we do. And it's going to bring more clarity to value-based delivery and help us be better at what we do. While none of us relish the fractures in our industry that have been exposed, it gives us a platform for 2021 to affect change. And there's going to be a lot of conversation. There's going to be conversation in Washington and in all of our state capitals, and look forward to joining that conversation and using this as an opportunity to affect positive change. So that said, those are what I see. I think that we're going to, as rough as it's been, this is going to be a springboard for all of us. I thank everybody out there for all that you do. Thank you, Han, for the platform. And happy holidays to everybody. Stay safe. Let's get the vaccines out there. And here's to, a much better 2021. Thank you.
You're live, Michael.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can all.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, and thank you to Han for having me on the podcast earlier this year, and happy to share a couple thoughts. I'm going to just kind of break my 5 minutes of fame here up into two sections, one personal and then one professional. The personal side, what I think COVID has done for me personally and for my family is it's really given us a keyhole view into how everyone's going to handle themselves in a crisis and how we can come together. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. I have three sons. The oldest son is 24. He spent his entire college career studying aeronautics. He's an engineer. And he finally, after a 5-year undergraduate career, landed his job in December at Spirit Air, 90 days before the world blew up from a travel standpoint. And what that meant for him was he got a very quick lesson in how to navigate your career and to figure out, office politics and how do you build allegiances. Happy to say he maintained his job and was able to secure it despite layoffs and furloughs. And it was an opportunity for me to be, this is a good parenting moment for me, and to just finally use my parenting skills on an adult navigating through a career. And he was really the first one. And he benefited from, I think just from keeping his head up and working hard and, doing the right thing. And then my middle one, he's a junior in college. God bless him. Talk about a tough thing. His little side project and something he's very interested in is stand-up comedy. So these guys had to do a competition. If you can imagine, they normally do stand-up open mic night, and it's very competitive. but they had to do it by Zoom. And you talk about a difficult thing. You're telling jokes into a screen, and as opposed to getting the feedback from the audience. So we all learned. He learned, we wake up, we do the best we can. And then, of course, my little one, I got a 4-year-old at home. We had to switch schools with him. He has to wear a mask every day. So everything is different. And what we find is that we all face crisis. We get through that crisis. Then, of course, on the back end of the crisis, you will have then survived it. And then maybe the next time you face something, it doesn't feel so much like a crisis. So we've all been through this as a family. Friends have gotten closer. And I'm just trying to be, the best husband and father and son and friend that I can be. And it feels good to be able to sort of help others. Opportunities to help others always make me feel better about myself. And so that, to me, is a huge, huge positive of COVID. We're an owner and developer of seniors housing. We've got communities across the spectrum, 55 plus, all the way through memory care. And, as I mentioned on my podcast, March and April were terrible. March, April, May really were terrible. But what happened in the crisis was we learned how to get the things that our communities need to be safe. We struggled through dipping occupancy and loan issues. And as we started to come out, even though right now the pandemic is still raging, we are figuring it out, and our communities are safe. And, we went from a time period where everyone thought, oh, one of the most unsafe places you can be is in congregate care. Well, it turns out it's a pretty safe place. And as an adult child, if I can put mom in there or dad in there and know that they're going to be safe and get the vaccine early, that's not such a bad choice. So I feel like our industry has gone through a roller coaster over the last 9 months. We went from, what appeared to be a sucker punch and a black eye from the sucker punch into, okay, this is something that rather than having mom or dad at home while I'm at work, he or she is somewhere where they could be cared for safely. And all of our operators and caregivers and residents have done a great job rallying around over the last, 6 months at least. And we look forward to the future. We're continuing to develop new communities. And look, the demand for this product, nothing is going to stop the demand for this product. 10,000 people turn 65 every day in America. There is going to be a need for seniors housing. And it's just a matter of making some adjustments now that we know that pandemics can come, and we have to assume that, there will be more like this, and how will we be prepared for them? And we'll be better prepared for them than we were for this one, just because we will have learned from this particular pandemic. And, I'm proud of our response as a company, and I'm proud of my response, as a human being and as a parent and a friend. And so with that, I probably went over on my time, but I wanted to wish everyone happy holidays, stay safe and healthy, and I'll sign off there. Thank you.
Well, I don't know about you, but I have a new perspective on 2020 after this conversation and all the wonderful stories shared by our guests. So even though we couldn't meet in person, this event was successful at highlighting that even in a year as difficult as 2020, there were still silver linings. We are better prepared than ever to take meaningful changes that will benefit the seniors that we serve. So thank you for joining, everybody. And thanks also to our wonderful guests. I appreciate your time, and I hope everyone listening got something valuable out of this event. So let's finish 2020 strong and go into 2021 with a renewed sense of purpose in our work. And I hope today's conversation will motivate all of us to continue to serve older adults as best as we can. So if we keep focusing on the positives, we will truly make a difference in the lives of our elders. Merry Christmas to you and your family.